Welcome everybody to today's stream. Hope you had a nice weekend so far. And we do some more relaxed gaming today. Some nice discussions. Give me a second to set everything up. Thanks for the follow, Moin Roper. Thanks a lot. So, let's start the weekend by playing some PvP. There is nothing better to do, obviously. No, I'm joking. I just checked. I wanted to do some fractals today. I wanted to explain some stuff because people were actually asking me how I do fractals, especially CMs with pucks. Today I want to explain that, so I'm looking for some pucks. But it's too early, so let's play some PvP where probably the matches are very, very good. But what can you do? People apparently sleep quite long when it's their day off from work. And who can blame them? As always, if you have any questions, any feedback, please let me know. Welcome Heavenfire, welcome, good morning. Hope you had a nice day so far. And it's only a few more days, or are we already matched together? No, not yet. No, it's actually, it is the case. Yeah, we are matched together, nice. We could play World vs. World together. Very cool. So let's check. Ah, nice, very good. That's the casual mindset you have there. Waking up at 6:30 to farm some stuff. That's the classical casual game set. I'm joking. Everyone does what they do. I mean, I would do the same if I really needed. Yeah. So. Okay, so 97 cm is Shattered Observatory. Yeah, I can explain it. I think the thing about Shattered Observatory, about why this fractal is actually one of the most difficult ones to learn, is because it's not because the mechanics of the fights are that hard. It's more like there is a lot of stuff happening at the same time. And that means that you, as a player, have to actually improve in your speed of action and reactions to what is happening. So that means that typically players that play, for example, PvP World vs. World don't have that much of a problem there because you have that same issue in World vs. World and PvP as well. You have to interact a lot with stuff that is currently happening. But in the other fractals, let's, for example, Silent Surf, there is just 2-3 mechanics that you have to understand. And if you understand them, you don't really have to react that fast. You know, you see the mechanic, you move out. That's it. And in Shattered Observatory, especially on Arc, there are 5 things happening at once in the later phases. And if you are not fast enough to see it, to recognize what you have to do, then it does not matter if you would understand the mechanic. So that's why I would say it can get quite messed up if people don't react fast enough. I will try to find a fractal group and explain everything when we win this match. No, when we are done with this match. So let's see, they have a rather good team in the enemy team. It's a Power Reaper. Suffish Power Reaper. Annoying. That's not power, it's actually Condi, but something hit me really, really hard there. Okay, Spear hit me for 12k. Yeah, okay, I take it. I mean, 96 cm is, I would say, a very nice fractal to start with, because it teaches you mechanics, but as well as just understanding how your class works and how you should play the game on your class. So I think it's it's actually a very good place to start. Oh, this is annoying. I can't win a 101 here because I get one shot by this guy coming in. Yeah, I think this match is really hard. What is this 10k hit? And someone tells we need the spear buffs in PvP. What? Yeah, I guess I'm just still sleeping. Yeah, this is not gonna look very winnable. Yeah, I guess our only chance is to regroup now and to make sure that we get something done on the map.
You've captured the quarry.
Nice, I got the healing interrupt, and then again, I got the on the Necro on my.
You've lost the quarry.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the biggest issue that you mentioned there, Sigga, that the UI in Guild Wars 2, not only in PvP, but there it's the most apparent, is very, very toxic to new people. There is so much stuff happening in this small region, or when you target someone in this small region, that it's actually not really, yeah, you can't really see what's going on until you are hundreds of hours in and understand every single class in and out. And I think that's not helping new players getting into any content in Guild Wars 2. Especially if it's really hardcore content like, yeah, try-hard PvP and that kind of stuff. Yeah, I'm dead again. There's 3 people on me. Oh, we got cliffed with a water cliff. That's what we want to see, to be honest. They have a perfect team comp. They have a support Tempest. No, it's actually not support. It's not winnable, sadly. Welcome, Ollie, Ladyman. Welcome. I'm doing good, even though this match is completely lost. I will do some fractals after that and explain some more stuff. But I totally was just joking about talking about the UI, and it's really hard to see stuff. And I think that's the one biggest criticism that I also mentioned in a recent video of mine, where I talked about what features would improve Guild Wars 2 by quite a lot, so that people might be more interested in playing it. And one of those features was completely, yeah, that they make the UI better, not only in a way that it's better, but it's also adjustable, so that you could make it, yeah, just more clear which kind of part of the UI you want to emphasize more, or just which part of the UI is unnecessary and if you remove it or make it very small. I think this is completely missing in Guild Wars 2, yeah. And I'm not sure if they will ever do that, or if they are even capable of doing so. I think every other decent MMO has this feature. Guild Wars 2 doesn't, and that makes it really, really bad, especially when it comes to competitive modes where you just don't see your stuff. There are some add-ons that actually work, yeah. For example, you could use Guild Wars 2 Clarity. However, this one is a little bit harder to make sure that it's actually really working and allowed, because typically ANET is really strict when it comes to third-party add-ons. But yeah, I think it's actually, I'm not sure if it's allowed, but this one would make it clear, yeah. And I think if they could implement something that like that caliber baseline, that would be amazing, obviously. Okay, let's focus. Maybe we can win this. Yeah, this guy is dead, and then we let him bleed and we go far. Okay, they are at our close. That's not good. But like I said, I don't want to be a doomer here or something, but I feel like ArenaNet, if they could have done something like that, they would already have done it. So in my opinion, it's just not very likely that they will do that in anywhere in the near future. Yeah.
You've captured the quarry.
And I have to be honest, I would say it's probably much more likely that they will come out with a Guild Wars 3 and have this issue fixed when it comes to a Guild Wars 3. But yeah, I don't know. We discussed this yesterday in my videos comments, and a lot of people actually thought that it's not that likely that we will get a Guild Wars 3. Or at least not in the very near future. I think it's more like 10 years out, so I'm not sure if it will ever happen. A lot of MMOs recently either were cancelled or were just postponed, delayed. So in the end, it's really hard to make an MMO that is better than the currently existing ones, even though if it's really old. So yeah, I'm not sure. It's a hard topic in that sense. I mean, if we win this match now, if we completely snowball it and then completely come back, that would be insane, to be honest. I never actually expected that, because the enemy team is very decent. It's not like it's a complete troll. Okay, we have to kill the Necromancer. He is here.
You've lost the quarry.
Dodge. Oh, this was unlucky. Okay, we have too far to... No, we have... I have to go close, because my thief is apparently quite decent, so we have to focus on that. It's actually crazy. We made 250 points without them getting out. I don't know, not a lot of points at least. We have to kill this guy and then let him bleed. It's really important. Let him bleed, let him bleed. Very good. Because if we let them bleed here, even if he rests, it doesn't matter. So we have to help our thief now. Our engineer should win actually close, I think.
You've lost the quarry.
Focus on this guy. We lost the whole map, sadly. Engineer lost. Yeah, if the engineer won the 101, it's actually winnable. But now it's not. Now it's not, sadly. I mean, it's still winnable, but it's really hard. Good morning, Mr. Smith. Welcome, welcome. Because they are at our close and we can't really rotate there fast enough to deny the cap, and they will just probably stand there until the end of time.
You've captured the quarry. You lost the waterfall.
He plays Plague Signet. That's obviously not something we want to see as a Conti Necro. Okay, maybe we get the decap. I will just leave him here in a 101 probably. 150 points to go. The thief is doing such a good job, I have to be honest. Now they are dead, but they were trolling so hard at far all the time. Nah, there are 3 people here. No, sadly.
You've lost the quarry.
I would go for probably power Virtuoso is a really decent one for that fight. Power Virtuoso with Spear, it's extremely strong. Yeah, sadly, we couldn't win this.
The waterfall is yours.
Yeah, nothing to win here. But we tried. It was actually decent. Okay, let's look for some PvE gaming. And I would say Power Virtuoso. I have a build guide about it, Romantic, on my YouTube channel. Just check it out. It's really, really good. Yes. PvX does mean I play every single part of the game. So fractals, PvP, and World versus World later as well. So every single part of it. That's what PvX means, yeah. Just because I am a veteran, I have way more fun playing every single game mode. And if I just stick to one game mode, that's typically leaving me burnt out after a few days. So I really want to stick with playing different stuff, different classes all the time. I think that's my mantra, so to say. It's my mentality. I think it's way more important than trying to grind one game mode very long, because that will just leave you burnt out. It's not what you want to have, at least in my opinion. Yeah, let's see if we can find some fractals, because I really wanted to explain some challenge modes, or at least how you typically do them in packs. And let's do the festival as well. But what I wanted to mention with the UI is that typically, for example, Guild Wars 2 has a really nice UI when it comes to weapon skills and that kind of stuff. I think it's really clean. You don't have to have 30 weapon skills at once equipped, or class skills. I think a lot of MMOs have that, so you have a huge bar here. But the sad part is that a lot of the weapons, especially the new weapons, are designed in a way that you get some kind of buff, or even this attack here, yeah? This block was in the base game. And you get a buff here while you block, which is in the end not that bad, because people notice, okay, you block. But then, that's the problem. If every single weapon skill gives you a buff, that then you see here, or gives you some kind of, for example, with Spear as well, you get the clarity buff. And it's actually not clear at all, contrary to its name, yeah? It's just filling up this bar, and you can see even out of combat, I have so many buffs here and stuff, that it gets really confusing to see which kind of stuff is currently on it. So that makes it even really hard in PvE to find out if you have stability and you don't care about the attack coming in, or if it's okay, and that kind of stuff. So in my opinion, there should be a way to make it clear and say, okay, I want to make this buff bar bigger, want to move it maybe up here. I want to maybe say only boons show up there and not the other stuff. Or I want to see only this boon maybe even. So something like this would be really cool. But in the end, and that's the big part, I think that they would have done that a while ago, yeah, if they could. So in my opinion, it's very unlikely that they actually will do this anywhere in the near future, yeah. But that might just be my pessimistic take on that, but I think it's a realistic one as well, because it's just not very, I don't know. I'm not sure if they really are interested in that. It looks like Guild Wars 2 is not really in a state where they push out really big changes, feature changes, and that kind of stuff anymore. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe with the next expansion they do something like that. But I was hoping for that years now, and they did not do it. So I'm not sure if they will do it now. I think just the amount of stuff they push out, especially when it comes to features, is actually not that big anymore. The biggest feature I would say that they released with the new expansion model was the Wizard's World. And that's it. I think the Wizard's World is an amazing feature, but they did not do any other features than that, I would say. I'm not sure. No. Yeah, it's no good here. No one will play some fractals or strikes or whatever. So we have a question from YouTube here. Is there a possibility after the patch that Chief Thief with Shadow Arts is dead in World vs. World on channel less played? And is there a new one coming up? So the thing is, and that's the sad part, they nerfed a lot of stealth access from Thief and Spectre and all the Thief specs in general, which is okay, I would say, but the problem more was that the Shadow Arts straight line is annoying, yeah, it's really, really annoying. However, and that's the weird part, they did not nerf it at all. Not at all. And that means that yes, you will see less stealth access from Thief and let's say Daredevil and maybe even Deadeye, those will be less likely to be played, yeah. However, and that's the weird part, I think it's not doing a really good job in that sense because Shadow Arts was the annoying part and they did not change it at all. So in my opinion, yes, you will see less of them, but they are not dead at all. I think it's not completely, this straight line will still be run because it's really, really oppressive, yeah, and annoying. So yes, there might be some Spectre gameplay coming in with heal Spectre and that kind of stuff, but I think that's not the problem. People are talking about Shadow Arts straight line when it comes to just annoying roamers, and I think this will still be the case. Yeah, it might not be as perma-stealthy anymore, or it might be harder to pull off, but I would say the death is greatly exaggerated, for sure. Definitely. Okay, we have some group. Let's do some fractals. I really hope, Minddropper, that you are right. I think Heal Spectre in PvE would be amazing. I think Heal Spectre was a spec that was not played a lot. And typically, I think it's really cool if you have to fill roles with new specs that were existent before, but people just did not play it because they were too bad or too clunky to play. And I think it's really nice if they buffed it so much that you can now play it. Yeah. I'm not completely sure if it's really meta after the patch, but if you say so, maybe it will be. I don't know. I'm not the Spectre expert on that. And yeah, so another comment from YouTube. We already have Watchtower and Detection for Thief. And Thief is always quite squishy, so it makes sense, yeah. But I would say the problem is that it's really annoying to fight, yeah. And if you have fight against a really, really good Thief, they can just engage and disengage whenever they want to, and in the end they might win the 1-on-1 even if they are not supposed to. Just because of this annoying stealth and engage and disengage stuff. So I would say, yes, you're right, there are a lot of things that turn it down, but if they fight in the correct place, if they fight you exactly what they know, how to do it, how to deal with you, then in the end you might still lose. And I think it's okay to have a spec like that, but I think it should not be as easy to permanent stealth, which is really easy nowadays. And it will get harder with the initiative changes and that kind of stuff. So I think they are going in the right direction, but I think Shadow Arts is not the way that they should have gone. Yeah. I think the problem is we have, so people always say, oh, we want more power builds, we want more Condi builds. There's always someone that says something about this. And I think the best way to do that would be to go for Condi builds and power builds at the same time. When it comes to PvP, I would say there are a lot of power builds nowadays. There are only two Condi builds that are played. This is the Herald and this is Condi Reaper that I just played. When it comes to World vs. World, I'm not completely sure. I think you can play a lot of different kinds of stuff, but you might be right. A lot of tanky Condi stuff is also around there, and roaming especially. But in PvE, I would say the balance, in my opinion, should be a power build, should have less consistent damage, but has a way higher burst window. And a Condi build should have higher consistent damage, but less or higher ramp up time. If they balance it around this, then I would say even if the benchmark of a Condi build is around 45k and the benchmark of a power build is around 42k, people would still play power builds in some content like Fractals because you can't ramp up to 45k for the most fights. So I think this would be a really nice way to balance stuff, that you say, okay, I picked this for this fight and I picked this class or this build for another fight. I think this is way better balancing than saying, okay, we have this threshold, everything that is above this benchmark we nerf down, and everything that's below we buff. I think that's not a very good understanding of the game, how it works, because a benchmark is just telling you how much potential a build has. That does not help you in a specific fight where you can't pull off this potential. So I think it's really important that you look at builds in a little bit more than just the vacuum that they exist in a benchmark. Yeah. Takes forever to fill. I guess I will play some heal. That's okay. So I think this is a very important thing to notice, and I'm not sure if the latest balance patches actually address this issue. I'm not sure. I think, for example, they nerfed Spear Catalyst. Yes, it has a really high benchmark, but no one played it because it was way too hard to pull off. And I can't just repeat myself. I think they nerfed and buffed it at the same time because they made it easier to play so that you can pull it off easier and the damage is lower. And I think this is a good direction to go in when it comes to really annoying builds to play, so that they are more played. But I think it's also cool to have a build that is really, really hard to do. And if you pull it off, you get a lot of reward for it. I think that would be nice. I'm not sure if Enrinet agrees with me on that, but yeah. So another question from YouTube, do you know where do I get that benchmark and what is a decent output and possible exotic gear to reach? So I can give you the link in a second, but my first thing is the benchmark typically for builds is always using full ascended gear, full ascended food, all the buffs that you typically have in raids, and infusions. If you then, for example, go down with the infusions and from ascended to exotic, you actually lose from ascended to exotic alone, you lose around 5% of your stats. So that in the end results in maybe 5% of a DPS loss, yes. But you also have to take into account that you will also lose, for example, 5% position, and then your build might be a little bit different. So you have to adjust that to reach the same level of precision, because that's typically what the builds are really focused around, reaching 100% crit chance, of course. And if you have that perfectly with ascended gear, you will not have it perfectly with exotic gear. So you have to be a bit aware of that. And typically, if you don't have infusions, you can say that's a DPS change of maybe 3%. Depends on the build a bit. But so in the end, you might reach, let's say if you are within 10% of the end benchmark with the exotic gear, you are doing a very good job, I would say. But like I said, the benchmark is one thing. That you understand the rotation is way more important than reaching the perfect benchmark. Because in the end, if you understand the rotation and can adjust it in a messy fight, in a chaotic fight, then it's way better than if you say, oh, I reached the benchmark, but I, in the end, don't know how to adjust it if I have a fight that is a little bit chaotic. But I can give you the link, of course, to the website. It's called Snowcrows. Snowcrows always has nice benchmarks. And all the guides to the content as well. And there we go. This is the link. Yeah, I mean, Willbender and Warrior, both of them are really, really squishy in PvP. If you play with Spear, both of them. And they can both do a lot of damage to each other. That means this matchup is very volatile. I think every matchup with the Strength Warrior with Spear is very volatile. Because either they one-shot you, or you one-shot them. Which is typical. Yeah. Okay, hopefully we find someone anytime soon. That's really annoying that it takes forever here to get any people playing Fractals. But I guess we can talk meanwhile. so that's okay. Oh, we found someone. Perfect. Okay. We have another question from YouTube. Do you have a video about what crafting profession to learn as a new player, or should you learn it all? So you can see it here actually. We have 8 crafting professions, plus 1/9, which is the scribing, which you should only learn if you're having a guild that you want to create or decorate. So I would say those 8 are worth it to learn. You can also level with them a bit. Your character level, that is, not the crafting level. But in my opinion, if you start out, for example, if you're Mesmer, yeah, then you would probably go with a tailoring station because you're light armor class. Then you can craft light armor stuff. And you would go with the artifishing station so that you get the typical weapons that you use for Mesmer. This is not completely true because the weapons can be really hard. They are split across weaponsmithing and huntsman. So it's a little bit hard to make that decision. But I would say if you are light armor class, you should go for those 2. If you're medium armor class, you would go for huntsman and leatherworker. And if you are heavy armor class, you would go with weaponsmithing and armor smithing. This is just a general rule of thumb. It's not particularly true for all cases. If you play the game for longer, in the end, you might get every single crafting profession on one character or multiple characters. It doesn't matter. You can switch them all around if you want. And I would say in the end, if you're a veteran that has at least maybe 2 characters or so leveled, you can level all of them to 400 at least. This is completely fine. Typically, you level all of them to 500 at some point because it's actually not that hard and it's providing you with some value in the future. I don't have a video about it yet. I can make one, but in the end, there are guides in the internet, especially when it comes to what kind of stuff you should use to level the fastest. And a video would just, quote that and link you the website. So I would say it's not that important. Crafting in this game is really unnecessary for most people. I would say 95% of the community doesn't really need crafting. You can buy every single piece of equipment that you need from the TP, and everything that you can't buy from the TP is typically easy to acquire otherwise. So that's just my take. Crafting, yes, go for the one that you want, but it's not absolutely necessary. It's not changing your game for you. But it can help you level to level 80 if you, for example, are not level 80 yet. Okay, we finally have a group. Let's play some Necromancer now. And I can explain fractals. I hope you're still here, Mindtrapper. So we will start with 99 and go down then. So typically, you could, in a full CM run, you would also do 100, but it's quite hard to find decent people for 100. Because 100 CM, it's such an annoying fractal. I did recently a fractal tier list on stream, and I actually will release a video about it very soon. And to me, Lonely Tower fractal is really annoying. I really don't like it. And the reason why it's in CM, it's actually not that... I think it's probably the easiest CM when it comes to just mechanics. It doesn't have that much mechanics to understand. However, and that's the weird part, it has, in the split phases, some kind of... I don't know, has some weird... In the split phases has some weird DPS checks, and those DPS checks are really annoying me with pucks, because oftentimes pucks don't get enough damage to make it really worthwhile. So it's really, really annoying. So, yeah, you're completely right here. 100 is the Soto one, yes. It's the epoch fight, so to say, just in a fractal. Gunfight, they don't... Wait. I can show you after this. So, yes, you're completely correct here. I'm doing some guides on the fractals just right now, live on stream. It's not like perfectly scripted or anything. I just tell you what we have to do. With this eye, we just face away. This is just learning the mechanics before the final boss fight. Here we just CC fast enough to make sure that this guy dies. And if we CC, he stops his attacks. So this is really important because otherwise we have to spread here, and if we CC him, we will get the attack denied, so to say. Yeah. And now we go down, we skip, so to say, the really annoying part of those fractal where you have to jump the mushrooms and that kind of stuff. And we just glide down here and do the... Yeah. Now it's fine if you can't play CMs, it's not like it's made for everybody, but I think it's quite fun if you can do that. And if you don't, then you can of course play World vs. World, it's way more fun either way. I would say both of the game modes have their pros and cons, so yeah, it's fine. Okay, so then we interact with this guy and start the fractal. So this boss fight is really, really weird. It's just boring. It has 3 mechanics and they repeat all the time, and that's it. So we spread out here when the circles appear, and we deal damage, and you can't dodge this damage. It's just always damaging you. That means you just spread out, because otherwise you get one shot, because it only can hit you once. Then when this eye happens, we look away from all the eyes that are appearing. And other than that, we just wait until the next phase happening. Yeah. So now we deal our damage. And yeah, I mean, what can I say? This is really boring. We CC when this break bar happens, and we spread out when the attack happens. We move out with red attacks, and other than that, I don't know, we just damage him down, and at 66% and 33%, this guy will phase, and we have to move out of on the islands here. And so we have another spread. In this phase you can just stand and try to damage him. He's evading sometimes, so it's a little bit annoying. Other than that, you can completely ignore it, and now we phase. Now 4 people get a tether. That means we have to move to the tethered platform. Okay, I was the one that did not get the tether. So you see islands here, and if you get the tether, you see an ad spawning there. And then you use your skill, your one skill, to teleport to the platform, kill the ad, and come back via the mushroom. And if we do that in time, we don't get one shot. If we don't do it in time, we get one shot and the fight is over. So it's really important that we do that in time, because it's obviously annoying and you have to redo the fractal. And this fractal just takes forever, or it feels like it takes forever, because you have only the same 3 mechanics happening all the time. And that's it. Okay, I'm glad that I finished this, because it will dash to this guy. Okay. Then we CC again. It's not absolutely necessary that you CC it every time, but of course it helps, because otherwise this guy teleports around more often. And it's just annoying. And one thing that is also important, in the first 2 phases you can try to damage him while he does this teleport attack. In the last phase you should not do that, because if you do, you might get feared off the platform, because he will have the eye attack. You will see that in a second. Okay, we have another tether mechanic. That's what you see when you get tethered. You see that there is a guy spawning. You have to kill this mob. It's not that healthy. Even a healer can do it in time. It takes maybe a little bit longer than a DPS, but it's still worth it, of course. Otherwise, it's not good. And we are back. Hopefully everyone did his job. No, they did not. And that's what happens when they don't. Yeah, so that happens when the healer is too slow. So it's really important that if you're a healer, you can't play a full tank healer with no damage, because then you will completely troll, and it will not work. You have to play Harrier, for example, that has some power and you can deal damage. Or you can take some Berserker or Assassin's Gear. Yeah, the healing stuff in this fractal, you don't need that much healing, especially if the people here know what they are doing and use their own heals. It's actually not that necessary. But you can see it's really important if someone trolls when it comes to the damage. Yeah, so if someone trolls in this right that they are when they have a tether, it's really annoying because we have to completely restart it. You can't do anything about it. It's only one person that gets the tether and one person sees the ad that they have to kill. That's it. If they don't kill it, we have to restart. And this fractal is really annoying in that sense because it feels very long. Yeah, it doesn't have any cool stuff happening at what currently is ongoing. So there's always those three mechanics. And if you fail in the hardest phase, so to say, at the end, you have to do all of it again. This is really annoying. But that's not really hard in that sense. I would say Lonely Tower is just a little bit harder with pucks because if the damage is not there, you have to do it forever. You will not be able to finish it. So this here we will probably get done just because people should understand how they do the mechanics. If people don't have enough damage for Lonely Tower, they will not get enough damage in the next 5, 10 or 20 tries even. That's just how it works. You can stay a little bit. It has a little bit of a delay to spread. Very important that you don't go into the circles that are from the other players and then in the middle, because it will instantly kill you. The eye will also fear you down. It is really a fear, so if you have some kind of stun break, you can actually make use of that stun break and you can ignore the eye mechanic. But typically it's not really. I'm not sure if it's true that Condi Harbinger is better in general in every situation, but I think the damage from a Condi Harbinger is actually really nice, especially on this fractal. And typically I would say a power build shines more if it has a really nice burst window. I'm not sure Power Harbinger probably does not have that, at least as far as I know. That means it's why would you run a power build if it has the same amount of burst than a Condi build? And if the benchmark is almost the same and is less ranged focused, is more power melee focused. Yeah, so you have I think you have spear and that kind of stuff, so it's really melee focused, and this fight is really bad for melee any melee attacks because you're ranged half of the time of this fractal. So that's why this is definitely the better way to go with Condi. And I would say Power Harbinger can be better on some situations, but it's more generally useful is Condi Harbinger. That's my take on that. Yeah. And after the next balance patch, maybe this changed it a bit, but I think Necromancer did not get changed at all in PvE, which is really interesting. But yeah. Spread out. Again, this phase is okay to look at this guy. In the last phase, it's not okay. You have to look away. Okay, he pots away again. It's just the same mechanics all the time. You can't really have a nice damage uptime all the which is, it's okay, but it's just annoying. You can't really, if you, for example, a Chronomancer, Power Chronomancer, this fight can be really annoying because you can't really go in continuum split all the time. Yeah, I think this fractal is not the best designed fractal. Okay, we split again. You can see my DPS is not that great just because I'm talking so much and don't concentrate too much on the fight. It's okay. It's not completely fair to my group, but I try my best. pots again. It's really annoying. It's just happening all the time. You can't really do any rotation of your build. Now we get the next header going. Let's see. The headers happen also while the fight is ongoing, so you can actually do it beforehand. You don't have to do it while this invulnerability is up. But of course it doesn't matter if you do the invulnerability phase anyway. Then it's not a big of a deal. If everyone kills these ads, we actually get the next attack and place it into the next phase. And here we are, last phase. Should not be a big deal in the end. This time you can see the eye is happening, you have to look away. Otherwise you get feared, and if you don't have a stun break, you will fall off the platform and die. Which is obviously really annoying if you die here, because your team will either have to reset or has to res you, both of which is not typically what you want. VCC, he puts away again, you go to the outside, just ignoring the eye. And yeah, just going back in, damaging. Not too crazy what is actually happening here. It's always the same thing. If you understand it the first time, that's good enough. You will get another split, or not split, but yeah, spread out phase in a second. Yep, there it is. Especially if you're the first, you have to move out really fast, otherwise you might kill your teammates. You see it by the numbers above them. You also see here the red guys are all not targeted yet. So you have to be aware of that. Again, he pots away. It's really, really annoying. But we are at 5%, so it should not be that much of an issue. Yeah, and that's it. It's dead. 99 CM. Done. And now we move on to the next fight. So this fight, like I said, is really annoying as a power DPS that is focused on really melee all the time. So please, if you are playing on this fight, play with ranged. If it's a power build on ranged, it's fine as well. Typically Condi builds are more ranged, so that's why people go for Condi build here. The next fractal is the same. It's also favoring Condi or ranged builds. If you're a ranged power build, however, it might work decently well as well. Thanks for the follow, Caffeinated Stoic. Thanks a lot. Hope you're enjoying the stream. And these two are the only fractals where I would say you are really favored if you are playing a Condi or range DPS. All the other fractals, even the CMs, or especially the CMs, power DPS is really highly favored just because they have so many phases and that kind of stuff. And you can skip a lot of the, not hard, but more difficult mechanics than you typically see. If you really have a high DPS, you can phase all of them way too fast to make the mechanics really deadly. So here again, I try to explain it. This fight has some more mechanics, but in the end, they are quite similar spread mechanics. And okay, she dashes out. We try to damage her. We can go for a CC here. Let's see if we go for the side CC. No, we don't. That means that in the end we have to do CC at the right timing. That will be shortly before she does her deadly attack. Now we do another spread. And of course try to strip the boons if they are on there, because no pain, no gain. And we have a lot of CC, a lot of damage, so we will phase her before we need to CC her. And at 66 she will phase. Now we have to wait a bit until she comes back. There will be meteors coming down. We have to move out to not die for them. We place a Might Rental portal device down here. So this one, if you have it, it's to teleport instantly back in when she respawns. That gives us more time to burst her down and phase her faster next time to 33%. But typically you don't need that if you can also just fight her normally. But I would say it's way better if you do it, because then you are on the safe side even if your DPS is not that high. Now we wait until the meteors are reaching the middle here. And we are done when this happens. And we can stand here until the red circle pops. We move to this not glowing Meteor, because normally you have to stand behind to deny the attack. It's badly coded, so you can stand in front as well, which is obviously better, because then you will be able to damage her in the meantime. Now we go for the CC actually on the side. That makes it way faster to kill her, but it does require a lot of damage. So if you don't have enough damage, then it's not actually working. We phase her again. This time it's the water phase. That means we have to again we get pushed outside, wait until it's over the push, and we can teleport back in. We can also just walk back in. Reason for that is we want to stack as close as we can to deny as much damage as we get from these green circles. At the same time, this tether mechanic will happen. It tethers one player. They will get the, where is it? Tidal bargain debuff. If it reaches 10 stacks, we get a lot of damage, and we should not do that. So we should always see how many stacks an ally has, and we should deny it. If it's at 8, 9, we should step in and try to get it away from them. And typically you just step behind them as well, so that both happens used as the ally step between the tether and the ally steps between you and the tether. So yeah. Oh no, I might die here. Ooh, okay, was close. Okay, and then she just dashes around. We have to spread again now here. Not that big of a deal. And we damage her. Now we could also CC her, but we don't really need to, because we will just kill her in time. And typically when you are a fast group, you don't need to do it. You can CC her on the side. But if you are a slower group, you have to wait until she does her really big red AoE attack. That will happen. It does a lot of damage, where you have to spread, and in the middle she does a lot of damage. And that means that you have to do a lot of CC in the middle, just shortly before she does this attack. Typically the supports do that, but of course if you're DPS and have CC, use it in the time as well, because of course why wouldn't you? Then we are in the dark phase. It's the second phase of this fight. It's a little bit more flashy, but in the end it's almost the same thing. So she dashes around a lot. We have to spread out after every dash. Typically that's why ranged DPS is better here, because you can still deal damage while you are at ranged. Yeah, that's not what you should do. You should not jump in here, otherwise she will one-shot you. It's fine. I had the mistlock up. Now we CC'd her. She will now dash in the middle. Now some guilds will spawn. And sorrows. So the sorrow, we just CC this guy. Otherwise we will get one shot. In this phase only one spawns. In the next phase there will be 2 spawning. Then the spread will be DPS right and supports left. Now we have some fears spawning. We should run away from the spear. The fears are deadly. They deal a lot of damage, and CC, they are only targeted on one guy though, so you can move out if you're targeted by this. And here you again just damage her. It's not that difficult if you have a nice DPS group. If you have a high amount of understanding of the fight, it doesn't really matter. Now we have the CC phase, but I don't have any CCs left right now. Okay, we got it. Like I said, there will be 2. Now we just have to damage her. Sometimes she runs out, sometimes she doesn't. Now we have to kite a bit of the fears, because it's otherwise quite annoying. Okay, we dealt with them, and we can just damage her, and it's done. This group is quite decent with the DPS, even though I struggle so much. And that's good. And now we can go to the next fractal. And in the next fractal we will play power. So why do we play power? Like I mentioned before, power is not only better in phasing, but those fights are also not that melee hate focused, so you can just stand on top of the boss all the time. That means you can play melee builds like Power Word, Dragon Hunter, Soul Beast, all of that kind of stuff. and you don't get punished for it. And power builds and fractals are also better because you can use the corresponding potions and sigils if you want to really min-max. Because, for example, the last boss of this fight, of this fractal, works with potions of slaying Scarlet's armies. So that gets 10% more damage to you and 10% less incoming damage. So that it makes a huge difference if you want to min-max it. And yeah, just see and watch. We just DPS this guy as fast as we can. It's not really that big of a challenge anymore nowadays. Just skip it, CC if you're the support, and you see we have a lot of DPS here. We just face it before it does anything. We will place a portal down here and now kill these anomalies and jump from one island to another one just by jumping in those flows, just like the normal mode. And typically a lot of the mechanics that I explain here are also the same in normal mode. I just want to explain them again in challenge mode because they might be more punishing. It's really important that you get the grasp of what you are supposed to do in this fractal. Especially if you don't understand the normal mode yet completely, you should not go into challenge mode just because the challenge mode just amplifies the mechanics in the normal mode. And it's really important that you as a player understand that it's important to deal with every single mechanic. If you don't understand one of them, that means you should not go into challenge mode. So we face this guy almost before he finishes his dash attack. That's fine. Get another portal placed down. Normally I could also place one, but like I said, I'm a little bit more concentrated in explaining stuff right now. Now we have a nice guy that also portals us from to the next platform, so we are a little bit min-maxing here as well. Doesn't matter too much. Helps a little bit with... we have another portal actually. Nice, nice, nice. So this is really like a try-hard mechanic. I could also play some portals and in the end we would be really, really fast. But it does not matter in the end. Typically Soul Beast is the best for this kind of content because you have so much DPS in a short window of time. You can see I got DPS quite a lot of it. And that's fine. And there we go. First boss done. Not that challenging, especially if you have a high amount of DPS. You can just kill this guy while he's CC'd. Typically the support CCs them and the DPS just bursts it as fast as they can. And that's why Soul Beast is so great here, because Soul Beast has apparently with Dragon Hunter together the highest burst damage. So you can actually just ignore every single thing in this fight that is not completely forced on you with the jumping around in the islands and stuff. So now we just go to the next fight where we trigger the mechanic by going here, and then these guys get vulnerable. We try to kill them, and then we go to the next mini boss. Next big boss needs a lot of CC, so in the end it's important that you have some nice CC with you to make it faster, especially in the split phases. And now we just have to use the special action key to bounce the orb. And if you know that they will happen here, you can also already position yourself, and then we just go to the next platform. If you have any questions, please let me know. I might be too fast, might be ignoring some stuff, just because I did it way too often already. So it's really important that you ask if there's something unclear here, especially if you want to use this as a guide. Okay, now we can pre-stack some boons if we want to grab the Mistlock and go in. As soon as we touch this ball thingy, we will go and fight, and we can try to deal as much damage to her as we can before she gets pots away. And typically you want to damage her and phase her before we get the Doom proc. So typically you see we did a lot of damage, so we phased her way before the typical Doom mechanic would proc. Doom mechanic is like a bomb that will explode, and if you're not standing in the middle, you will lose the Mistlock buff because it one-shots you, or you will get one-shot if you don't have the Mistlock buff. This attack you have to dodge. You can also use stability, of course, to deny it, but... And then you see, we face her before she does any big damage, which is obviously insane, just because of the Soul Beast. So the Soul Beast does a lot of damage. Now we have another orb mechanic, but you have to stand here in the white thing. And... Okay, we killed the Anomalist with just CC. So 1% we got her, very nice. You could see if you have a nice damage output, this is actually really easy. You skip every single dangerous mechanics, so it's not really challenging at all. And now we go back to our DPS setup, not CC setup. And now we can GG if someone runs in front, just to teleport back, get a full reset of the cooldowns, and yeah. So you see, I'm not even the biggest DPS player here. If you have full Soul Beast, you face it even faster. So that means it's actually a really, really easy fractal if you just run the meta and understand how good it can be if you know what you're doing. And you just kill this boss again. This boss is a little bit more mechanics. I might not be able to keep up with every single thing. You try to spread out here. In the green, you have to stand. At the same time, you have to stand in the anomaly thing if you have the Doom debuff, the skull above your head. Now you split out to get the solar blooms here to the specific how's it called? Pylons, and then you just DPS this guy. He faces again. He faces almost every 10% at some point, so we have to be really fast and try to deal as much damage as we can to keep up with the Soul Beast here. And he will come back now in a second. And we just DPS this guy again. Stand. If the red orb is happening here, you can jump just before it pops. You go in the invulnerable form, and that means that in this use it on him, and you will be able to deny the damaging field, and because you get invulnerable and you will absorb it. That's how you typically deal with this mechanic. And we now use everything again. At 40 he faces again. So we are another phase. We again kill this spawning elite. And he will come back after we killed it. This time he has another 10% that we will only have to, and then we will get another phase. Nothing too exciting. When the eye happens, of course, stand away from the boss. Or look away from the boss, rather. The solar bloom is always tethered to the closest target, so always move to one side of the arena to make sure that you are the targeted person, and then you can easily deal with that. And again, we just focus on killing the boss now in the last phase. Nothing too crazy. If you have a lot of DPS, you can just skip every single one of those mechanics. And you can see actually it was almost the same damage than the Soul Beast. This fight is actually decent for me because I have a lot of utility as well in the kit. But the other fights where I did not perform that well, you could see Soul Beast being really good. Yeah, I hope that was at least a little bit of a guide. Of course, it's really hard to do the guide live because some stuff is just happening too fast. Especially when it comes to Arc, there are so many mechanics that are overlapping. There will be even more if you know what, so to say, what the group is capable of. And if the group is really, really slow, you see all the mechanics happening at once. There are way more than we actually saw right now. There are stability mechanic, tiles falling off the floor. All of that will happen. If you're fast enough, you don't care about it. So we just go in, do the Arc, the Assault Knights here. Again, nothing too important, just kill them. It's really easy. Important thing here is if you are experienced, you just GG here. The reason for that is you will, if everyone GGs in the fractal, then you get a full reset of the cooldowns. That means we could burst them as hard as we needed to and get still full cooldowns later. Now we pre-stack, we get some wounds, and Then the supports take the Mistlock to have all the cooldowns again, and we have some free boons. Now we just see this thing before it does its attack, so we don't have to really care about anything of it. And you can see we faced this before I even completed my combo. We again go on this Mama boss. Stand in the bubble, of course. Again, move out when attacks happen. Here will be the next spawn of the Assault Knight. We just kill it. Has some evade frames, but it's not too bad. We will go on Mama again. It was an unnecessary dodge, I guess. But okay. We face her. We go again to the next Arc Knight, Assault Knight that is spawning here. And as soon as it's dead, we go in the last phase of Mama. We again try to CC her, of course, but have to be a bit careful now as she's not stationary anymore. So we have to be a little bit more careful. But in the end, it does not matter. We kill her in time. It might be that Blade Zone is back in the meta, especially in Fractals. It has a really nice opportunity to one-shot because of the high amount of one attack, the damage that it puts out. So I think Blade Zone is a really good choice in Fractals. It got a bit nerfed down, but I think after the patch it might still be back. You're right there. We will see, we will see. I think in Fractals, it's if you are really, really min-maxing, yes, it might be a little bit the meta really restricted. But if you are just playing with pucks and stuff, you can play every single power build. You can play Power Reaper, you can play Power Soul Beast, Power Dragon Hunter, Power Word. All of that completely works. It's not important that you play the absolute best. But I can see why it would be fun to play Blade Zone again. I think Blade Zone was not where it once was, for sure. I'm not sure if the rival is actually coming back, especially in PvE. Oh, come on. Port did not work because this guy was too far away. I guess it doesn't matter. Typically you can port up here with a port to the enemy. Makes it a little bit faster. And then you just capture the altars. It's the same in the normal mode and challenge mode, I think. Yeah, I think Rival in PvE for Warrior is not gonna happen, to be honest. I think it's just, why would you run Rival over, I don't know, Greatsword, over Spear? I don't see it happening, over Dagger even. But maybe, I don't know. I think Rival is more in PvP for one-shotting enemies and having fun. Or maybe World vs. World if you want to have even more experimental builds going on. But I think Rival was never designed to be a really high-end top DPS weapon for PvE. Yeah. I think that's fair. I think not every single weapon in the game has to be designed as a weapon that is used in every single game mode. I think that's just unlikely. I mean, like Shield, for example, on Warrior is a really strong defensive tool. But if you're playing Warrior in PvE, especially PvE, you don't really need defensive. So why would you play Shield? So I think Shield was always designed with a competitive focus in mind. So I think you don't have to make every single weapon fit every single game mode. So here again we have split phases coming up, so we just mark where we go because there will be spawns of mobs. And if you mark them before where you go, then everyone knows where to go when it happens, and you can easily deal with them really, really fast. You will see that in a second. It's really, again, just about DPSing this fight. If you are playing with a good group, you don't have to understand the mechanics at all anymore. It's just you kill the guys before anything happens, yeah. And it might seem stupid, but I think if you're in an experienced group, you don't have to know a lot about the mechanics anymore. Typically people know, of course, but you don't have to, because you actually skip all of the mechanics, if that makes any sense. Yeah, so we just burst this guy again. Okay. Don't GG, okay. It's not GG then. Never mind. Okay, and then last fight. So here it's important just to... This fight is actually one of the rare fights where a Condi fight might still be okay. Just because it's actually not too bad for Condis. Because you have actually decently long phases. But typically power is better for every fractal except the previously mentioned ones. So here you CC again as fast as you can, just to make sure that you get enough of the burst damage off and maybe even phase it before it does its big attack. It didn't, of course, because it's actually a high health amount that we have to get through. But you can see it's actually quite decent when it comes to how fast we phase. And you see, I'm pulling ahead now because my DPS is more consistent than a Soul Beast. So in the end, I will have more DPS than a Soul Beast in this fight. And that's why Condi DPS is also more viable in this fight, because the phases are longer. That means that Condis can tick up, and in the end, you might even have more DPS than a power build if you're playing perfectly and the power build is not. You just stand here, dodge the orbs, dodge the knockbacks, try to not get hit by any of the attacks, to not die to it. And you just precast your skills here. Make sure that you hit every single attack while he does his thing. Don't stand in the orange arrows. And just DPS and try to face this guy before anything really happens. Stand again in the bubble. And maybe we face it before it happens. Yeah, I think. Oh, we didn't. I didn't get stability. Okay, we faced it. Very nice. Again, we spread out. And the last phase is even easier because you will stand stationary all the time if you face it in a few seconds. And yeah, this boss fight is also not that heavy on mechanics. It's more about the attacks that he does, what you have, how to deny them. But yeah, it's. I think it's one of the fun boss fights in Fractals for sure. I really enjoy this Fractal. Now we face it 15%. And stand in the middle again, just waiting. And yeah, just kill it. Okay, and then we go to the T4 fractals. So like I said, if you have any questions, please let me know. I think it's important that me as a veteran get some questions when it comes to that. Okay, so I would say Condi DPS, the reason is why you take Condi DPS is because typically Condi builds are range DPS. So if you have a power build that does a lot of range DPS, then you can also go with the power build on this Condi bosses. But let's say it's a Condi boss just because a lot of Condi builds are ranged. Typically, Condi builds are focused, Condi fractals are 99 cm and 98 cm. So Sanqua Peak and Silent Surf. Those two are Condi favored. All the other fractals are not. So this is the summary, yeah. Silent Surf and Sanqua Peak. So those two, yeah. Exactly, because you have a lot of splitting going on, you just can't upkeep your melee DPS all the time. All the others, like you could see in this fight, it was more like, okay, we just stood on top of each other and killed the boss before it does anything. So why would you play a Condi build that has range DPS? It doesn't matter, you just stand on top of each other anyway. Yeah. But like I said, it depends a bit on the group speed. So if your group is slower, a Condi build will still be quite viable. Yeah. But if you are in this group, for example, we have a lot of DPS, it's not viable at all. Because you start dealing DPS and the others are already done because the phase happened. Yeah, so that's really important to understand. And for normal T4 fractals, the health pools of the enemies are way too low to really make it worthwhile to go for a Condi build either. So That's why normal T4 fractals also have the same thing. So I run all the fractal CMs together with the T4 fractals, typically on my groups. So this is now going for first CMs, and then we go for the T4 fractals, what we are just doing. And then if you want to do, you can go for another group with recommended fractals. But for me as a veteran, I have every single thing that I want to get from recommended fractals. So for me, it's not like worth it anymore to run recommended fractals. So I don't run them at all. Yeah, that's just the reason why I don't go for a group that does every single fractal at once. Just because I don't need it anymore. I don't care to do recommendeds. It just, so to say, a little bit of waste of my time. I enjoy fractals, but not going for recommendeds typically, just because recommendeds might be less experienced groups, and in the end that might be slower and not that rewarding anyway. So here you can go for demon slaying for the last fight. Now you can jump off the cliff here in the lava and jump to not get hit by the fire field all the time. We go here, just GG when you reach it. Everyone can respawn just shortly before the boss area. You can grab the mist lock and you jump down and kill this guy. Again, this guy has phases, but it does not matter too much because you can just ignore most of them when you DPS. Fast enough. Yeah. Okay, he has a block now, so we just have to deal a lot of attacks to make this block go away. There's a lot of burning damage as well with the elementals and stuff, so typically you have to be a little bit careful here just to not die to the burning. If your healer helps, of course, that's even better then. Yeah, you can see just DPS is down. I think everyone here knows how to do T4 fractals. You can just see this is a group where I have a lot of DPS in the group. Just because we did CMs before, typically CMs groups are better than just normal T4 fractal groups. So in the end, I will be probably faster than a lot of you when you just do T4 fractals. You can see this fight was a little bit longer and I did a lot of cleave, so I did way more damage than Soul Beast. Obviously, fights are designed in a way that sometimes builds are better, sometimes other builds are better. I think that's how it should be. Yeah, so last fractal. Quite fast today, the rotation. I actually like it with Sankwa and that kind of stuff. It's always fun. So here I just swap a little bit around with my utilities. Make sure that I have decent ones to do the skips. Okay, it's actually all far. I guess that's okay. Drop a portal. Go to the fab thingy here. Wait, no, take my portal. Nice. So with portals, of course, this gets way faster. And you can skip most of the stuff. I think we should be fine. Let's see if everyone makes it in time, but I guess it's okay. Yeah, very nice. Typically, if you have portals, this is actually not that hard. Kill the Mossman here. Try to go as fast as we can. Yeah, looks good, looks good. So you can go for the Mistlock here, but I actually want to keep mine that I already have. And if for one reason or another our group dies here, I can actually kill this boss with 2 mist blocks because I can go to the next mist block that is standing there. I think that's sometimes a safe bet. Righty, welcome, Filthy Casual, welcome. Hope you had a nice day so far. Nothing too crazy, just explaining some fractals right now. Did explain the challenge modes before. Did you get rid of your pigeons on your balcony? Or are they still there and making some dirt and laying eggs? So this split phase is really boring. We just kill enemies and hope that it's over soon. And as soon as it's over, we start bursting the Bloom Hunger again. Okay, he dashes to us. It's okay. Okay, we kill them. Very nice. Always stand in the lit up AoEs, of course. Okay, so they're still there and they're hiding. That's not good. That's not good. Yeah, I mean, it's probably hard to get rid of them without killing them, probably. No, Skyhammer hit me in PvE. Okay, you can ignore this guy, you can also kill it, it does not really matter too much. It gives you 1 more loot back. So, for me it matters. I want to kill it, of course. But it's not progressing the fractal any faster, so it's not making that much of a difference when it comes to speed of the fractal. Now we just wait again until we killed all the creatures and we're finally in the last phase that we can't speed up. And then we can go running. So I know it spawns in the corners of this map, so I already started running before we faced, just to make sure that we make it in time. We actually lost a player, that's not good. Maybe I can rest him. Okay, maybe we just kill this guy. Yeah, and that's the fractal run for today. So, hope it was a little bit entertaining, maybe helpful. And I find it fun. Yeah. So that's it for today with the fractals. Let's do some other stuff as well. Ooh, minus 14 degrees. That sounds cold, yeah. Yeah. I mean, in Germany we typically don't get that much if you're not near the Alps. But minus 14 sounds frosty, yeah. Okay, let's see if we can get a strike mission going, and then we go some world versus world. So let's see if there are enough people actually playing currently world versus world. We might go for a guild mission. I'm not sure if everyone is ready for that, but we need for one guild mission here, we need capture 5 world versus world sentry points in 15 minutes with at least 3 players participating. So that means we need at least, we don't have to spread out to 5 sentry points, but it means that at least 1 sentry point has to be kept by 3 people. Or they have to participate in this mission. It would be nice because then we get 400 favor, and with the favor we can start more upgrades for the guild hall. So if we have enough people that actually are online and doing potentially people that want to play some world versus world, then we could do that. It's not that hard if you just run around and complete some. Yeah, we might split up on different maps then to do it, because the thing is we need to have 5 sentry points available to us to capture. If we are on a map, where every single one of those are already captured by our team, then that might be a problem. But I think it would be actually quite interesting if we have enough people to do it. Can check, and I think we can also, if we are really dedicated, we could also go for the difficult one. Difficult one this time is also doable with a few amount of players. I think it's 5 camps in 15 minutes. It's also not too hard, but it's harder. Yes, we are at the same, we should be on the same team now, everyone in our guild that selected our guild at least as a world versus world thing. So let's see how many potentials are here. There are a lot of them. We could easily do this actually alone on this map. If we just run around in 15 minutes, it should be doable. But I need 2 more players to help me with this. So we can start as soon as we have 3 people. Heavenfire might help. And you don't even have to leave the circle Heavenfire. You can just capture one that you are currently on. Maybe find it, maybe swap to another map just for a minute, and then you just have to participate. You don't have to help me with all the 5, you just have to participate in at least one. That goes, of course, for everyone that wants to help. No, we just have to capture one at least. So you don't have to stand with 3 people in one of the capture nodes. You just have to have 3 people participating in one of the 5 sentries. So that means it's just capping it is fine. So if you cap 1 alone, if I cap 4 alone, we are done if 1 person is helping us. So 3 people have to participate. So 1 person, you and me, would be fine. Yeah. So I will write it in guild chat. Give me 1 second. So we need to capture 5 sentry posts. One second. Thanks for the follow, Toshi. Thanks a lot. Yes, you get a pop-up as soon as I start. I just want to make sure that everyone is aware of that before I start it. And then we have 15 minutes. Typically, it's the smartest way would be to already have someone in place directly in front of a sentry before I started, so that we instantly get, so to say, the reward for it. But I think 15 minutes that are 3 ticks, I think I can solo it probably, but like I said, I need 3 people, otherwise the mission doesn't count. Yeah. Recommended players 10 is completely insane. Why do you need 10 people to capture 5 sentry points? But yeah. Yeah, I think it's Filthy Casual, we can roam together, but it does not really have a big influence if we roam together, because in the end, we just need to capture 5 of them. We don't need to stand in the same amount of them. So you can come to me, we can run around if you want. You see it on the guild one on which I am. I'm Spitzberg currently, but I might swap around depending on what is needed, because I don't know if there are 5 left when I start the guild mission. So as soon as everyone is ready, then we can start it. I just moved to one already, which would be this one. It's quite far away. But of course, it's smarter to start with the most far away from the teleport, because I can then teleport back and move in the next direction. And like I said, it's not really hard. I think 15 minutes for 5 things is actually quite doable. And we get 400 favor for that, so that's nice. We can get some more upgrades going. But you will see the pop-up here in the guild window when I started. Perfect. Thanks for helping. I think it's a nice guild activity. I'm not sure if we could vote on that if you really want to have, for example, we could go for PvE guild mission as well. I think PvE guild missions might be slower, but might be more doable for more people. Yeah, because World versus World can be a little bit, people are scared of it or don't want to engage with it. Then PvE is, everyone could engage with it, but might be a little bit slower to do because 15 minutes for those guild missions is really, really easy. You don't have that much of a time hassle. If you go for puzzles and that kind of stuff, it might be slower. Okay, so you're near 2 sentries. I will move to mine and then we will, or we can instantly start it, it's fine, I guess. So I will start it now and good luck. Let's see. If we fail, we can just repeat it again. It's not like it's gone forever. So let's see, we need 5 guild missions. Of course, you have to have the guild currently equipped, repped the guild, otherwise it doesn't work. And yeah, it should work. If Heavenfire is already at 2 and I stand at 1. Just have to make sure that that 3 people are involved. So we should not kill the 5th if we are not sure if someone else killed one as well. Okay. Okay. Just writing that I got 1 already, so that we don't get 5 instantly from 2 people and we will fail just because there's a necessary thing of 3 people. Okay, I move to the next one. And did it count? Why did it not count? In the capture. Oh no, we have to actually really be together. Oh no. Okay. We have to really be together. Okay, then we have to roam together. Then I come to you, Heavenfire. That's annoying, I have to be honest. That's annoying. That means we have to be 3 people standing together in the same circle. So we can't spread out. So this is actually not very user-friendly, I have to admit. That makes it a little bit annoying to play. There's one. There are actually quite a lot of them here, so we can actually do it on this map alone. Okay, so I guess we'll just run to east side at the sentry if no one else is there. Yeah, we could also go west side. It does not really matter. I think they are all completely fine. We just have to stand at the same thing to make sure that it works. That's a bit annoying, I have to be honest. It would be way more interesting if you have to do 10 and split across all the maps, because then it's more like really a challenge. To stand in one, to capture it as 3 people is not really a challenge. Yeah? It doesn't teach you very well how to do capture stuff. Yeah, it leads to wrong assumptions, for example, regarding PvP conquest, where you then have 2 new people standing in the same capture node to make sure they capture it. I think that's really important that this get taught to people, to make sure that people understand, okay, 1 person is enough to make to capture it. But I guess 3 people, we should now be able to easily kill enemies. I mean, you're all Willbender, so I have to go to Willbender as well. Then we have a really nice roaming party, and I think we would be unstoppable. Yeah, it's fine. I think we should still be able to do it. And let's hopefully see this time it works. It's a little bit annoying, but I guess it's fine. We still have enough time. How much time do we have left? 11 minutes. Good enough. Okay. And then we just rotate here and try to steal the blue ones and go back to the red ones on top in the north. Yeah, this time it counted. Perfect. Yeah, it's just... I have to be honest, I did never do guild missions to that extent that I know exactly what is the most efficient way to farm them. I think the World versus World ones are actually quite fun. We can interact with each other and have some fun playing the game mode. If a lot of people want to participate in those, let me know, because then we change it to PvE. I think PvE is a little bit easier to organize. You can say, okay, at 8 o'clock we will do this and everyone can be there and we'll get some guild missions going. But the World versus Worlds ones are, in my opinion, the fastest because we just play the game mode that we enjoy and don't really care and still get rewarded for playing it. Okay, there's the next one. I think actually our combo is actually really hard to kill because I give you quickness, and quickness on a Willbender is actually insane. So I'm your support in that sense. It's actually a really, really annoying comp to fight. I think if we would fight another 3-player comp, I would say they had a really hard time to defeat us because we have so much damage in a very short amount of time, which is actually really fun. I think this optimizing in small scale is not necessary at all, of course. We can actually glide. Yeah, perfect. So optimizing in small scale is not necessary at all, but it's actually something that is really fun in my opinion because it leads to really interesting build crafting. Because like I said, this build gives quickness to my allies because of this trait. And that can be really, really strong with Willbenders. So it's a really interesting team comp that you go for one really nice harp that gives you quickness and is a little bit more sustainy than a Willbender. Okay, then we have 2 more to go. Those red ones should be fine. And very good. Yeah, thanks for helping here. And you will also get rewarded, so don't worry, you get I think you get at least 1 gold or something, and you get the guild commendations. So if you need the guild commendations for whatever reason, you could get them, and you get, for example, ascended trinkets you can buy from them, and some guild skins. So some of that stuff is actually rather hard to come by if you don't play guild missions. Actually, it's almost impossible because it's only from there. Not that it's really necessary to get this, but I just noticed when I wanted to unlock a lot of skins, it was actually not the easiest way. Yeah, there are guild skins. They are, in my opinion, quite ugly. It's just a weapon that is quite basic, but it has the guild emblem on it. So if you are in a guild and you rep the guild, you have the possibility to have a guild emblem. You can edit it here, and this will be on your weapon. And in my opinion, that's not really... It's some nice roleplay, but it's not that, you know, it doesn't look that great most of the time. Yes, very good point by Boring Guy. You get actually also consumables from there. So, for example, hero banners is really nice for meta events and that kind of stuff to help other people getting the hero banner as well. So I think that's probably what I would go for. But of course, if you need more ascended trinkets, it can help with the ascended gearing as well. Okay, 1 more. It's actually was really, really easy. So we did it in not even 5 minutes. Really good. Good job. Yeah, thanks for helping again. I mean, if you want, let's see, we could also go for the next one. We could capture camps. Could try to go for the camps and go for 5 camps if you want, if you're interested. 5 camps is of course a little bit more. We have to check where we find them because here are not 5 camps available to us. But we could start. So we got it. Target complete. We can now accept the bounty. Or we will get a wiggly chest in a second on the right side. There we go. And you see 1 guild commendation, 75 silver, and 2 pieces of rare fund here. It's not the biggest reward, but it helps the guild. So I guess that's a good thing. Okay, if you are both in, then we can go for the next one as well. Okay, then let's start it directly and capture the camp. I mean, it should not be too hard. This one is available to capture. And then we just, I guess, go for Ham Slap and then to Böttinger Highway, and then we just switch map if there's nothing else here. This one should be a little bit tougher because we just need a little bit more time to capture and kill all the things, but in my opinion, not a big difference. Especially with 2 Willbenders, we have a lot of damage here. And it gives you some nice rewards as well. It's not like capturing camps is completely useless. I think guild missions in World vs. World is really underrated how much more this brings the guild together if you want to organize stuff like that. I think, in my opinion, the guild system in Guild Wars 2 is actually really decent, but it is just not that much updated that people really play it all the time, which is a little bit sad because I think good features should be updated to keep people interested in playing the game mode. Ah, because you ported out? Nah, it's fine, we got it. Ah, we only have to capture 3. Ah, that's not a big deal then. 3 camps in 15 minutes for a hard guild mission. That's crazy. That's not a problem then. 2 more, we are fine. So, no, I think guilds, when they released it with Heart of Thorns, those features were really good. I think it's still very good, the guild missions, and just the guild horse and that kind of stuff, the guild upgrading system. But I think they never did an update to the leveling system. They just released it and that's it. And I think this is sad because you would have way more interest in guilds again if you brought back some new updates, made it a little bit more interesting again, just to get every single thing and work it out. We can kill this Dolyak if we are fast enough. It's on the way. But I think if they, for example, increase the level of the guilds, now the maximum level is 69, I think, which is a fun number, but I think that's the maximum number, or 63 or something like that. I'm not completely sure. And why not increase the level, make it maybe, I don't know, make something interesting, maybe increase the cap of how many people can be in a guild by 10, and people would still do it because it has some value to get it higher. But they never updated it. They update decorations, which is obviously a nice thing to do, but I think it would be better to make it even more interesting for people that want to upgrade the guild to interact with some kind of progression feature. Nice. Good damage here, good damage. Yeah, hopefully we get some nice Zerg fights as well, especially when we want to play together. I think it's really fun if we get some interaction with enemies as well, because for now we didn't see a single enemy yet. So I think the experience that you need to level up increases. So it's I'm not sure if it's an exponential growth, but it's definitely increasing. So we have to go and invest more, not only time, but also more guild missions and more resources in the guild and upgrading and that style of stuff. It's not, for me, I think the level does not really matter. I think I go for the stuff that is useful. Yeah. So for example, the synthesizers I want to try to go for first, or maybe guild buffs that give you more experience in World vs. World, that kind of stuff. That's what I would say is the best to go for. Yeah. And then we can slowly branch out and do stuff that is might not be that useful to all of us. Because, for example, I think I have it here on my Necromancer from a previous guild. Increased World vs. World experience gain by 10%. You can get that from a guild and it's permanent. It's actually a lot. 10% increase. Yeah, that means I level 10% faster than everyone that has it. And I think this is immense, this buff. You don't need the... I use it on my World vs. World characters. On my PvE characters, I use experience for more spirit shards. I think if you min-max that and use everything with 10%, it's actually a lot that you get. It's a big amount of just value you get from your guild. So I think this is really nice if you help me with that to optimize it. And we, in the end, will get all more rewards for just playing in our guild together. I think that's a good thing. You can also get PvE. PvP-centric buffs, reward track gain, for example, if you're not interested in leveling your mastery level, or your experience level here, rank, then you can also go for the raw track gain, which is also really nice. I think this is the one that is more consistent when it comes to gold, or gives you just more gold straight up. But I just want to level fast. I think I want to reach level 10k at some point, and I think for me 10% might help with that. Okay, let's go for the camp, and then we are done actually. Really nice. I mean, it depends. I think both of them are valid. So I think the reward track gain gives you more reward tracks. So if you're really farming, for example, for Mystic Clovers and stuff, that is the way to go for sure. If you are, however, going, for example, for, I don't know, just more pips, more reward tickets, for example, skirmish tickets, that might actually be the better way than for going for the experience. Yeah. So we have a question here from Twitch. What build do you play? Is it a secret build? So it's actually not a secret build, and it's not a secret build at all. Just a slight teaser. I will release a build guide about it, I think, the day after tomorrow. So don't worry, I will explain it in detail. But it's a Power Harbinger build. So we are done. Thanks, guys, for helping. This is a Power Harbinger build. And it's very similar to the PvP build, where you use Blood Bank. And, let's see, 2 guild commendations. Oh, perfect. Very nice. So you use Blood Bank, which gives you a lot of healing. Yeah, the idea here is healing conversion rate is 5%. So every time you heal, 5% you get as a barrier. However, if you're at full health, you get 100% of the healing that you do as barrier, yeah, in combat. This is insane. Why is that insane? You are Harbinger. You decrease your maximum health when you use elixir skills, for example. That means you effectively decrease your maximum health, making it easier to reach the 100% health conversion rate. That means oftentimes if you're in fight and use the elixir of promise, you get 8k barrier. This is really strong. Why is it that strong? Because you actually run Demolisher's gear. So you run gear that gives you a lot of power damage and decreases the damage you actually take because you have toughness. If you then have a lot of barrier, you actually get a lot of value from the toughness as well, and your damage is not mitigated at all. I will explain that in detail in my build guide, so keep an eye out for that on YouTube. But the idea here is Spear Harp with these traits and Demolisher gear. This is the build, and it's really, really good. So I hope that helps you with the build. And like I said, if you want more details, I will explain it in my build guide. And very good. Now I can start the next guild upgrades. Yeah, thanks. I mean, I don't want to advertise myself here as my YouTube channel, but I think if you are looking for build guides and just guides and fun content of Guild Wars 2, then my content on YouTube might be interesting to you for sure. And we had a lot of nice discussions yesterday in my YouTube channel regarding if the new expansion model is good. And I think it was oftentimes I have the feeling when I discuss stuff like that, people are way more interested in my opinion and how we see the future and that kind of stuff. So I was also really interested in you guys' opinion. So my point in my YouTube video yesterday was, I think the expansion model is decent. Yeah, we get content every year, which is obviously a good thing. But in my opinion, the expansion model nowhere comes close to the amount of content we actually got before we switched to this model. So look at EOD, look at POF. Those expansions had way more content than double the amount of Soto and Chantivals, for example. Yeah. So in my opinion, the new expansion model is not really... Oh no, we won't make it in time. Okay, that's sad. Okay, I guess we then go to the other camp here. So I think the new expansion model is... We had that not, let's say... Let's put it bluntly. People say Guild Wars 2 is somewhat in a standby mode. It still gets developed, but they really tuned down how much stuff we get. Yeah, and now the reason is there might be a second project that they are working on in the background that is costing a lot of resources, and they just want to keep the finance stuff, keep the income going while they work on the new project. And a lot of people actually believe that is Guild Wars 3. If that is really the case, I'm not so sure. But for me, as a veteran, I definitely see how much decrease in content and maybe even quality they have. And it could be for sure Guild Wars 3. I think it is not very unlikely to be the case. But there is no way of knowing. They have not confirmed anything regarding that. And people are just always a little bit, I don't know, assumptions when it comes to that kind of stuff. Maybe they just put a lot of efforts in another game that is completely different, not an MMO at all. I don't know. We don't know. So, I don't know. Yeah. I don't have a command for the add-ons, but I'm using Arc DPS, you can see here. And I'm using Lishhut. Those are the two add-ons that I'm using. I will make guides about it in the future as well on my YouTube channel. But right now I only have the Lishhut guide up. In the next days I will also release a more detailed guide about it as well. And other than that, I would say Guild Wars 2 is still getting content. I think they confirmed for sure that there will be an expansion this year, so it's not bad at all. So if people make that argument Guild Wars 2 is dead, I think this is not the case. If you have a game that gets still expansions, I think that's an argument for not being dead. However, of course you could say the quality and the amount of content is going down and it's slowly dying. Yeah, you could make that argument. I get it. Okay, thanks. So I will go and leave the party and go for some guild hall upgrades now. Make sure that we get some more stuff going. Also, just a short reminder or request. So if you're in our guild, in our community guild, and want to help me out, you can always go to the guild hall. Not only gather the stuff there, but you can also, and that's the interesting part, so you can go to the gathering guy, which is here. So if you go to the gathering guy, you can gather some ore here. Nothing too crazy yet, but I will increase it right now. You can also go to the scribing station if you want to level scribe. And if you want to deposit some stuff, you can go to any merchant here and go to the treasury and deposit stuff that is currently needed for our upgrades. So if you always go for the gathering, you can check if you have something that you want to donate. Of course, you don't have to. I will try to donate a lot of stuff myself. But for going for upgrades, of course, it's always very cool if you have some people that help you with the upgrades and that kind of stuff. Okay, so I need a lot of Glob of Ectoplasm now. And what was the other thing? I think some dust. And you just deposit it here and confirm, and then it deposits here, and we can do the upgrades whenever we are ready with the Ethereum and the favor. I will start it whenever it's really there. But I think if you have something to donate, it's always nice if you do. Just as a short reminder that a guild is always a community activity, so it helps if everyone participates in this donations thingy. So I also have to, I think we need 3 of those bags: Mithril slot bag, thick leather bag, and those 3. I have to craft them, and then I can donate them. Yeah, so I think a guild is always, every single part of being a guild is nice. Yeah, they actually want bags. It's actually, the interesting part here is that they not only want bags, sometimes they want some food as well, some really specific food, so I had to craft it as well. It's a little bit annoying sometimes, but it's not really a big challenge to get, so I'm fine with that. Sometimes it's a little bit expensive. Sometimes they want just gold. It doesn't really matter. For the most part, I just craft the things, I buy the things, whatever, and deposit them. Sometimes it's actually account bound. That's the most annoying part. For example, silver waste shovels is account bound, and you need some of them. Luckily, I had some stored up, but sometimes it's still there will be more annoying parts in the future, and I will try to call it out when it happens, and then you might help me when it comes to that. Because account bound stuff, of course, I can't donate all of the account bound stuff alone if I don't have it. Yeah. Okay, so we need 3 of those, I think. Then we need, actually quite annoying, I have to use all my characters now. I think you need 3 of those 18 slot bags for every single armor crafting profession. Yeah, exactly. I need to let you know, but currently I'm doing decently fine. It's not too challenging, but if it's, for example, I think back in the old days, I'm not sure if it's still the case, but back in the old days you needed to donate PvP and World vs. World reward deck potions. I'm sure it's not the case anymore because you can't get them anymore. That would be really annoying if you have to do it like that. Okay, and then lastly, which is the armor smith, this one. Yeah, I think a guild is always an activity of a community. Leveling a guild, you can do it solo. I did it to some extent. People can do it. You can, of course, for example, I have 3 guilds with full guild banks just as a storage. You can do that, but it's not really, you know, it's not a very fun activity. It's more like a grind, and some of it is really challenging to do. Some is impossible, like the guild missions that need 3 people to participate, so you can't do it solo. So a lot of that stuff is really a community feature. And I think going for 3 camps as 3 people is actually fun. It's not annoying at all, in my opinion. Okay, so there we go. Now I can go to the guild hall and deposit stuff. And yeah, I think the guild mission were really fast as well. It was not big. So, and the second thing I wanted to show, you go to this tent here, to the tavern, and you can then speak to this guy, Nathan, and you get the boosts. Currently, it's only 4% karma or 4% experience, but if we level up, which I try to do right now, let's see if I can do that, then we will get more possible boosts and also just more value of the boost itself. So from 4% to 5% and then up to 10 at maximum. And of course, that's something that is really nice. So confirm. It's a little bit annoying because the double clicking not always works. I'm double clicking like a maniac here, but it doesn't work. So I'm not sure what the UI wants to do here. So I did everything here that is really nice. Let's see what we can get here. Market restoration. What does that do? Okay, nothing really crazy. What can you get here? Decorations, trader, mission slots. Yeah, maybe not. Maybe I think I go for the crafting and that kind of stuff. Yeah. Yeah, I think the guild boosts are a really nice way to just passively increase the rewards that you anyway would get. So I think that's a really cool thing if you can just increase it over time. What you would get. Yes. There is an enrichment, like the comic enrichment. I have it, I think, on the bank. I can show you. Yeah, World vs. World experience enrichment. This is for amulets, yeah. You can buy it at the Laurel Merchant in World vs. World, as far as I know. And it gives you 10% more experience in World vs. World, which is obviously really nice. So if you have all the possible experience boosts, especially with next week upcoming, there will be also the rush event, World vs. World rush event, where you get, I think, 100% more experience. So you get way more stuff. So if you go for the guild stuff, amulet, and the ascended food as well gives you World versus World experience, you can see it last. The last thing also is 10% more world experience. So if you go for all the World versus World experience gains, upgrades, for example, with the Candy Corn Gobbler, that gives you also as well the, if you click, wait, didn't give me. The experience boost gives also 50% upgrade to experience, which is also going for PvP and World vs. World. That means also the reward rate gain is up with this boost. So this is a really good boost. You should run it all the time. So this is really nice. So you should, if you go for all the boosts, you actually get a huge amount of upgrades to World vs. World. Yeah, definitely worth knowing, and definitely if you want to min-max and want to optimize what you can go for, definitely worth going for. So what do we need here? 100 shots of this, and then we need bowl of black pepper cactus salad. That's what I mean. You need just some random food. Okay, then I have to craft that. And get some... Do I have class marks lying around by any chance? No. Then I will buy some. Is the damage in World vs. World changed? No, not yet. There will be some changes in World vs. World coming with the Tuesday's patch, but it will not affect damage so much. It's more about the sustain that enemies have. So typically it's definitely not... It should not change the damage that we have. It's more like the utility and healing and boon application will go down. So hopefully the damage will go up because of that, because people will be less tanky and less sustaining. Yeah, it's really nice. If you get one more pip, it's actually insane. I just recently got my next pip as well. That helps you so much with pushing the reward tracks. And it's actually, I think, a really fun goal to go for, because it's not only a goal that you have, but it's also actually increasing the amount of stuff that you get later. I think that's perfect. Yeah. So it was the, what else was it? The battle. Okay. Yeah. So I think also because it will increase in the future. So if you go for more World vs. World legendaries or want to go for the infusion, all the ticket gain will be faster. I think that's really helpful in the long run for sure. Okay, so we need the Lonian thingy. It's by 30, I don't care. And then go to the food. Really, I don't know. I'm not sure if that... Maybe they... I don't know why the arc DPS would be lower in right now. I think there should not be a nerf. And maybe arc DPS is malfunctioning, but the change should only be happening on Tuesday. That's the only thing. Nothing else should be there. This one was it, yeah. Yeah, only 4 crafting steps necessary. Very good. Even if you have already the tickets you need, since pip chest also gives you reward progress, it's worth it. Yeah, I think it's really nice for all circumstances actually, because even if you're veteran, you get just more liquid gold out of it if you get more pips and more stuff. Definitely, yeah. Wait, how many did I need? I need 80 or something. It's actually insane. It needs 3. How much? That's actually... Oh, that's expensive. Okay, then I have to craft everything here. It's actually crafting in this game can be really annoying. I have to admit. So let's craft 75. No, I need actually all of it actually. Oh, that's actually annoying. Okay. I guess it's fine. Yeah, I think if you have leveled everything and unlocked all the recipes, it's okay. But if you really want to go for all the recipes and stuff, it's like a mini game by itself. Because crafting in Guild Wars 2 is not explained at all. You have to just go for crafting and unlock recipes as you go. Buy them, discover them. I think crafting in Guild Wars 2 can be really annoying if you're not into that. And you can make some profit. I talked about it in my gold guides. I think crafting can be really profitable if you know what you're doing. However, and that's the part that is a little bit that you have to be aware of, it is still a process that takes time. So it's a time investment like any other farming method. So crafting is not like, oh, you just put it there and you wait and you get money out of it. No, it's like you have to really think about what you're doing. You have to adjust the recipes that you use and every single day check if it's still worth doing. So I think it's not going completely by itself. Yeah. Okay, so that needs 80. I need to buy so many of those things. That's actually really annoying. It's not that expensive, but it's annoying for sure. So need this. And when we are done with this, maybe we can do some strike missions. And it's actually crazy how much stuff you need for this one recipe. Crazy. I just don't know what to say. It takes forever, I would say. Okay, there we go. Almost done here. Almost done. It's actually quite expensive. It's 40 gold or something that I invest here just for this food. That's actually that's actually a lot just for some food that what is it actually giving me? Gain health every second and toughness. I'm not sure if that's really a big crazy gain. I think their scented food is just straight up better, but still it's just because of the ingredients they are so expensive. 5 times 80 is 400, so I need 500 of those. It's actually really expensive. I mean, I guess it's probably also expensive because people need it for the guild upgrade. That's also what you have to keep in mind. Every single guild needs the same things to upgrade. So at the start of Heart of Thorns, some things were really, really expensive, extremely expensive, even though they are not useful at all. It's just for the value. Okay, so we're almost done. And then we can do it. Welcome, Petra. So we have a question here from YouTube. Do I have some build for Revenant Open World? So it depends a bit what kind of Revenant fan you are. If you're more of a Condi Herald fan, if you're more of a Condi Vindicator build, those two are my favorite builds for Revenant. I have both of them on my YouTube channel. I can send you the link. Give me a second. They are really nice builds for sure. Really, really good builds. And they are up to date still, even though they nerfed the spear a little bit, but not too much. So the first one is the Herald build, and the second one is the Vindicator build. Those two are really, really good, and highly recommend you to play that. Okay, so now I can deposit it, and then I should be Gucci and can play some strike missions. Okay, we need some max and then we are done. Very good. And then we can get the PvP reward boost if we want to. Very good. Okay, Let's play some strike missions then. Yeah, no problem. I'm always happy to help. If you have any questions, especially as a new player, I'm always happy to answer as well. And let's play some strike missions then. Okay. So what I wanted to discuss as well is really interesting to me. Do you guys have any profession from that is the most fun to you, that you like the most when it comes to just the design? So you disregard everything except the design. So for example, if currently Catalyst is extremely strong, yeah, and you would have to choose a spec that is not strong at all. You just have to choose what spec you would see as the most fun spec to play, the most interesting spec to play from a design perspective. What would that be? I think that would be really interesting to me, because I have some ideas what I would choose, what I would say is the most interesting class, most interesting spec when it comes to just the baseline design. But when it comes to this, for example, we have Viva right now. I would say Viva is really nice design. However, and that's the sad part, if you combine this with the power creep right now, Viva is really bad right now. But just from a design perspective, I think Viva is really cool. Yeah. And I would actually agree with Heavenfire. I think Holosmith is also really nice, just design perspective. Maybe we can do a tier list after the strike mission, just debating about which spec is from a design perspective really well done. For me, for example, I think Dragon Hunter is an elite spec that is not that crazy from a design perspective. I think it's fun to play, don't get me wrong, but I think it doesn't really add too much from a change from the core Guardian. I think Dragon Hunter feels like a core Guardian with traps, and it's not really too different from what it brings. If you look at Holosmith, it's completely different than an engineer, because you have some nice flashy stuff. Yeah. I don't know. Okay, let me check if I have the correct trait. It's really important. Chronomancer always has to check the traits. Okay. So if you could choose only one spec from each weight class to play, what would they be? That would be easy to me. So let's say, okay, the medium armor class would be a bit hard, but let's start with the best class I would play in for heavy would for sure, without a doubt, be Revenant. I think I'm a big Revenant fan. I think Revenant might not be the strongest in every game mode anymore, but I think it is a really cool spec, has a lot of changes, it is really unique when it comes to what it can provide. And I would go for Revenant when it's for heavy armor classes for sure. That doesn't mean I don't like Warrior or Guardian. That's not what I meant. It's just I personally like Revenant a lot. Yeah. Other than that, for light armor classes, it would be really hard, because I'm a fan of all of them. Yeah. But if I had to choose to play only one of them, let me think about it for a second. Right now, it would be Mesmer, because Mesmer is so versatile. And I'm not sure if that will change in the future, but from the design perspective, I would say Mesmer, yeah. I would say, yeah. And lastly, for medium armor classes, this is a little bit harder. I think I'm not the biggest medium armor class fan. I like to play magic stuff, or I like to really play some really brute force armor, heavy armor stuff. The medium thing is not completely my favorite. However, it's definitely a decent thing to do. And therefore I would go probably with... No, it's tough. I would probably go with Ranger. Yeah, I really like Ranger when I have the correct build for it. I think support Druid and PvE is actually, I like it. I think there are so many changes, and I don't know, I'm not completely sure. It's really hard. I think making me decide on which classes to pick is not something I really like, yeah. One spec specifically. Ooh, that gets even harder then. Okay. I I'm a big Herald fan, so I will stick with Herald for now. This is my Revenant main thing. Yeah, Herald is probably my favorite spec when it comes to Revenant for sure. Yeah, and for Mesmer, that's really hard. I think all of them have potential. I would say Virtuoso is not the most favorite spec of mine, just because I think Virtuoso is not really fitting Mesmer too much, because it has cast time on the shatters, and that's something that is completely... I think that should not be the case. So I would probably go with... I think from... Currently I would go with Chronomancer, but from a design perspective I actually like Mirage as well a lot, just because Mirage provides a lot of interesting tools that not a lot of other classes can have, just with the dodge mechanic and that kind of stuff. So for me, this is probably my favorite Mesmer spec, just from a design perspective. Nowadays, Chronomancer is better, definitely. From the other classes, from medium, for Ranger, I would go probably with Soul Beast. Why is everyone dead? They're just greeting too much. Yeah, okay, I guess we can GG. I agree, Elementalist is really fun. I think Elementalist in Guild Wars 2 is actually also really well done from what it can do. It's not only a mage that uses staff and casts from range. It has a lot of potential with different builds. It would definitely be... I think all of the light armor classes to me would be higher up than most others, just because I really like playing some kind of scholar class. I'm just into that. I also like Reaper. Maybe we will do the tier list after this, okay? So we will just do the tier list where I talk about the different stuff and what I enjoy the most, yeah, and what I think is the most fun stuff to play. Because I think that will answer a lot of the questions here. Yeah, I think Revenant is not everybody's favorite cup of tea. That's definitely true. I think Revenant can be quite weird to play. With the energy mechanic, with the locked-in utility slots that you can't change in that sense, you have to play those. It can be actually quite interesting and not everyone's favorite, yeah. I totally get that. So, Peter, I still asked what is the best character for a new player. I have a build, not a guide, what's it called? A video about it, where I talk about every single class in detail, and it showcases every single class so that you can make a better decision. Yeah, in my opinion, it's really important that you play the class that you enjoy the most. Yeah, that you think the fantasy is the most fun to you, because then you will play it for longer, and in the end you will reach a level where you can say, okay, this will be my end game class. And that's why I made a video about it where I showcase every class, tell you what it's currently doing well, what it's not doing well, so you can get just an interesting assumption on how you should perform in it in the future. So be sure to check that out. It's I think you can just write it in the chat. Give me a second. So this one would it be? This is the guide on my YouTube channel. Be sure to check it out. It's actually really, I put a lot of effort in to showcase every single class and explain in a very short amount of time how it works, what it can do, what it can't do, how it's played, and should probably give you the tools to decide which class is the best for you, because there is no class that is the best as a new player, because it always depends on your own playstyle. But like I said, after this few strike missions, we will do a short tier list where I talk about what I think is the best one. And I totally agree with you, Filthy Casual. I think one of the best elite specs from a design perspective is Reaper. I think Reaper is so well done in Guild Wars 2. It is perfect, yeah, with just the animations, but also just how it plays. It feels still as a Necromancer, but it feels like you are the Reaper of Death. I think it's perfect, yeah. And you can, even the power and condi variant makes sense. You can chill foes, you can kill them with straight up power damage. I think all of that is amazing, yeah. It fits it so well. And yeah, what more can I say? It's a perfect class. Yeah, so let's see if we can kill this boss first try. I was actually quite sad to not kill the Bone Skinner first try here. So I'm running Dagger here now. Previously I did a lot of runs with Scepter, but typically Dagger is just better from the damage output of course, but also just from the clone generation, and typically you don't need the block on Scepter, so Dagger is just a superior version even on a healer. Yeah, I would actually agree. I think if you're a new player, Reaper is actually really decent pick as well if you are a new player, because it has 2 life pools, it has a lot of damage baseline in the kit, and it might be a little bit slower than other classes, but I think if you are new and learn how to play the game, I think it's definitely a good pick. There are classes like Weaver, like Mirage, they might be a little bit harder to play for sure. But like I said, I think if you go for the class fantasy that you enjoy the most, it's the most longevity that you can get from picking a class. If you just go for the one that you think might be the best for a new player, might in the end not lead to something that you really enjoy playing, and that's definitely a bad decision then, I would say. I don't know, yeah. I think this is really important to make that distinction. Yes, there might be a strong class, but if you don't like it, in the end, you will probably not play as long as you would if you go for a class that you enjoy more, and it might be in the end a little bit worse in the beginning, but every single class can be played in every single game mode, and so it's not really. I mean, if you want to, let's say, really roleplay in the game, Berserker can be then the perfect fit for you if you're really angry all the time. I guess that makes sense. But I think you should not be angry in the first place. I think being angry all the time is probably not good for your health anyway. Yeah. But I think Berserker is definitely a very good role-playing spec for you then. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for the follow, by the way, Toshi and Argo Vecti. Thanks a lot. Really appreciate it. Hope you all enjoy the stream. Yeah, definitely. I think if you play something that you don't enjoy just because someone told you it's a good thing to play, then you might have a completely different opinion on the game than you would have if you played something that you enjoyed, which is really sad, because in the end, the opinion that you get in the first few hours of the game will probably lead to you playing the game further, or just saying, no, this is not for me. Yeah. So it's really important that you go in the first few hours with something that you might enjoy, just because then you will probably go and get to the point where you then get really the meta. Yeah. Because in the end, in the beginning, if someone tells you, oh, Reaper is really good right now in PvP, who the hell cares when you start out with the game? It's not really important at all. Yeah. So this is why I think it's so important to say to a new player, always choose the class that you like the most, that you think is the most fun from the looks, from the, I don't know, just the playstyle and that kind of stuff. So that's why my video that I just linked in the YouTube chat is all about showcasing how a class plays, how it looks, what it is, maybe what it's doing, how it's played, but not telling you this is the best class right now in this game mode, because that will influence your decision. And at the time that you reach this, where it might matter to you, in the end, it might either be completely different because it changed, or it might just not be relevant to you because you know how to play it anyway and be better than the typical average, I don't know, DH right now. Doesn't matter. So it's really important to me. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's really important to me, to get this point across and tell you it's important to play what you enjoy. And this is the interesting part here, is this is not only important for choosing a class, but it's also important for choosing what type of the game, yeah, what game mode you play, what kind of content you play. You should always go for the content that you enjoy. Yeah. So if you enjoy going for world bosses, you should play and go kill world bosses. You should not say, someone else told me the best farm is fractals, and you reach level 80 and you instantly grind fractals, and you don't enjoy them at all. Then why are you doing it? It's still a PC game, yeah? So it's a PC game, and it's your spare time that you spend on it. So you should always do stuff that you enjoy. If something is just there for you to grind some stuff and you don't enjoy it at all, you should not do it. I think this is really, really important. It's a really important statement. Yeah, I think Spellbreaker in terms of fantasy is really cool. In terms of the design of the class itself, yeah. So how fun is it when it comes to counterplay and that kind of stuff? I'm not so sure. But if it comes to the design or the roleplay, fantasy, and that kind of stuff, I think it's a really cool spec. I think it's probably my favorite warrior spec just from the design itself, because it's so fitting. Yeah, it's a warrior that is focused on destroying magic or countering magic. I think that's a really cool design for sure. So here, just a tip before I forget, this guy will now get the breakbar and you get the CC skill. As a support, don't use it. Yeah, because you will deal damage if you cast it fast enough. You will be the one that deals damage. Not everyone will get the damage, and that means that you take away damage from possibly your support from your DPS players. So you should only cast the skill if you're a power DPS player. Otherwise, you should not cast the skill, because then you might take away the spot from the power DPS player, which does more damage. Just a minor tip here. Because DPS creating as a support is not something you should do. It's not necessary for 99.9% of the content in Guild Wars 2. Now you can CC after this, if you get the CC skill. Nice. Yeah, but if you have any questions about choosing a class, if you want some feedback, maybe if you want to see me play the class, please let me know, especially as a new player. I think it might be a little bit harder to find someone that explains what the class does, shows them off in the stream. Just let me know. I think it's really important. I can play all the classes. So if you're a new player, let me know. Right now I'm just playing Chronomancer support because it's extremely strong. In PvE right now, it's probably the best support, I would say. And I can carry groups really hard just by giving them permanent stability. And especially for strike missions, it's really, really good. Okay. Those guys and go to the next one. I think it's really hard. So if I would do a, I probably will actually do a tier list just after this mission here. But would you do a fun tier list? So a tier list where I talk about how fun an elite spec is, or would you talk about the design or both of it together? So because I think design, for example, I would put Catalyst really low, because I think the Catalyst design is really bad. It's just adding a new button. That's it. It's just a random button that gives you a new fire field, for example. but it might still be quite fun to me. So the question now is, how can I distinguish those two? Should I do a tier list that is about fun and design? Should I do a tier list that is only about how fun I think an elite spec is? Or should we talk about design just baseline and talk about, okay, how nicely fit is, for example, a Spellbreaker to Warrior? Is it really good or is it not? I think that is really interesting distinction. Can you make a tier list that combines this, or is it too much of an overview then that doesn't really provide any information? It's really hard. I think this is not something that you can easily say, okay, this is the best decision here. I don't know. I think there are points for both sides. To me, it's always really important to have a class that I find is interesting. Yeah. So if I play a class that is just a random button added to the class, then it's not like this class is the one class that I adore all the time. Yeah. So typically I want to have some kind of new feature, some uniqueness to a class to make it interesting. So for me, fun is the same as design, but that might not be the case for a lot of people. I don't know. It's interesting. Interesting debate for sure. Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what I feel like, that if the design is good, then typically the class is fun, I would say. But there could be an example made for classes that are fun, even though the design is actually not that good. Yeah, for example, I think the Catalyst design, like I said, is not really good. I think Catalyst design is actually quite boring. However, Dagger Catalyst, in my opinion, is actually still quite fun. Yeah. Exactly. I get both. I get it, definitely. I would probably do it like that, yeah. What's the best way to get Wizards World Weekly done? PvE, World vs. World, or PvP, time-wise? So this is a question from YouTube, and the answer to that is two ways. So it depends on the game mode that you play. So if you only play PvE, of course go for PvE. This is the straight answer. If you play only one game mode, play this. Use this for the game mode that you play, because only then you play the content that you normally play and get more rewards for it. So that's always the best option. However, if you play every single game mode and you don't care which one you use to complete them, and the fastest way is either PvP, if you want to play some PvP matches, just every single day one match will bring you enough to get the weekly and daily done, which is obviously really, really good. If you World vs. World can even be faster, but it is a little bit of a... Yeah, it depends. So sometimes you have some really annoying ones in World vs. World. In PvP, it's always the same. You have to win 5 matches in a week. You have to win... you have to compete in one match or something like that. It's really, really easy. So my answer would be, if you play every game mode, PvP is the fastest. If you play any other game mode that you like to enjoy more, then typically I would say World vs. World can be faster if you really, really don't like PvP. Yeah, so that's my conclusion. PvP would be my recommendation. But of course, people don't like PvP as much, so there are a lot of people that just are disgusted by it, so they typically don't play PvP, and then the fastest way would probably be World vs. World. Yeah. I think Bladezone and Guild Wars 2 is a really interesting design. I think it's fitting a lot of anime stuff and that kind of ideas, but in the end, I think the design is a little bit lackluster when it comes to how it works, because you lose your weapon, so you only have one weapon slot, not 2 weapon slots anymore, and that makes it really hard to be viable in competitive modes, because the gun saber is just not as good. So I think it's fundamentally screwed when it comes to PvP and World vs. World, but the baseline design for PvE actually is really good. I would agree. It's a really fun spec that actually fits Warrior decently well. Yeah, definitely. So I would rate it in a medium tier. I would not rate it really highly, just because it's not perfect design in my opinion. It's not without flaws, but it's definitely a very good one. Yeah. Thanks for the follows, by the way, from Petrone and Verons. Thanks a lot. Hope you enjoyed the stream. Oh, I should have swapped to some DPS build. This is not good. I take forever to kill this thing here. Okay, we got someone that helps. That's good. Nice, we killed it. And we're almost done. So we can start the tier list in a minute. Yeah, I mean, I think it makes sense to do more guides about legendaries and how to acquire them. And I will probably do that in the future. But it takes time to do those guides. Because they have to be really, how's it called? Detailed, but not too... I have to make it concise so that people really like watching it. So I think it's really important to put a lot of effort into those guides. And guides that I make are always high effort. But if I make even higher effort videos, they take even longer time. So it's really important for me to make sure that you understand I try my best. And I have a lot of video ideas already. And I think I will definitely go for legendary guides in the future. But I have also to be honest, I think it's better to go for legendaries that are new, like the new backpack and that kind of stuff, because people are more likely to actually use those. So making a guide about how to get sunlight or twilight is a little bit outdated because it has been 12 years out already. People know how to do it, and so it's making guides about those kind of stuff might not be the worst thing, the best thing. So don't worry, there will be legendary guides in the future. Okay, so now with this done, I think we can go for the tier list that I mentioned previously. Let me quickly set it up. Okay. By the way, is there coming a new expansion of First Guild Wars 3 and would you buy it? What would make sense to be in Guild Wars 3? So the thing is, there will be definitely an expansion coming this year. They already announced it, so to say. They said there will be an expansion in 2025. And I think Guild Wars 3 is still years away from being relevant to the game. That's just, I think they are not even close to making it playable. So I think it's just very, very unlikely. And other than that, I would say that I would play Guild Wars 3 if it's somewhat close to Guild Wars 2 from the what it is about MMOs, or if it's an RPG and that kind of stuff, I would play it. If it's like I don't know, a bird simulator or something that they are developing that is or it's completely different from, it's a card game, maybe I don't play it. It depends a bit, of course, but I think if it's an MMO or somewhat close to it, then I would play it for sure. Yeah. Okay, so let's put this here. So this tier list is about how I value the design of each elite spec. So how well is the elite spec fitting to the class? So if the core class is Mesmer, how well is Mirage fitting to Mesmer? Is it feeling Mesmery, but is it still feeling as a new, unique thing? For me, it's really, I like to play classes that have a new twist on the class, but still feel like it's fitting to the class. So it's a nice, important mixture of both. And for me, it's really important that the design makes sense. So if the design is boring and it's just adding a button that is not really influencing the gameplay from my previous class, just adding a new button, that makes the class feel boring to me. I think fun is for me always something that is combined with how well the class is designed. You can make an argument that this is disjunct from each other. It's not always the same. So you can have a fun class that is not well designed, yes, you can make an argument, but for me, a class that is well designed is almost always fun as well. So let's go about this tier list, and I will rate every single elite spec. So I will not rate the core spec, because the core spec, in my opinion, is really subjective. Yeah. So if you're an engineer enjoyer, you might like engineer. You can't say engineer from a design perspective is horrible, because it might just be your personal preference. When it comes to how well a class or an engineer elite spec fits to engineer, that is something different. And I think this is a little bit more objectively rateable. But it's, as always, this tier list is of course subjective. I can't make a completely objective fun tier list. That would be horrible. So please take that with a grain of salt, of course. Then of course, S tier to D tier makes a lot of sense. I just leave it like it is. So let's start with some spicy things. Let's start with some warrior. So I think Spellbreaker for me is a really cool design. Yeah, I think I really like the idea of having a class that can just give you a feeling of being still a warrior, but gives you the feeling of interrupting enemy spells just because you don't use magic, you want to interrupt their magic. I think this is a really cool design. It just adds one button, but it's still a very fun spec. I think because it's only adding one button and it is really annoying to play against, and it's not really that much counterplay that you can have, I'm not a particularly, I wouldn't say it's the most fun warrior spec. Maybe it is. I don't know, it's hard to tell. Yeah, maybe it is the most fun spec to play. But for me personally, I think it's just adding one button. It's not completely changing the class. It's still feeling warrior. So I would say A or S tier. Both could be fine. I will for now put it probably in A tier, just because I think it's a really fitting warrior spec. Let's talk about Bladezone. I think Bladezone for me, that's just my personal preference, but I think Bladezone for me is a little bit less fun than Spellbreaker, because you are rooted in place, it's not as mobile. However, the class design is actually really good for anime role-playing fans. I personally don't like it as much as as the next one coming up, Berserker, but I still think it is a very decent spec. For me, Bladezone is, however, not as high as Spellbreaker, so I would put it in B tier, just because I'm not the type of player that wants to be rooted in place. I want to have something really fast-paced, and I think this is just my personal preference. I can see why it fits Warrior, but in my opinion, it's just not as fun. And then we have Berserker, which is, in my opinion, the best spec of those three. I would put it in S tier. The reason for that is, it is fast-paced, it is very close to Warrior, but still alters Warrior in a sense that is something new, something unique. It's really nice. It's just my take, of course. Let me know your take in the comments and the chat. I'm really interested in this as well. It's just my take on the matter. Yeah. And other than that, let's go, I guess, to the next medium on heavy armor spec rather. So let's talk about Guardian. So Guardian for me, let's start with Dragon Hunter. I think Dragon Hunter is the worst Guardian spec from a design perspective. I think Dragon Hunter for me feels very boring. It just adds some cast time on your virtues. It's not really that interesting. The block is nice, but other than that, it's not crazy. And the traps are not that crazy good either. So I think for me, Dragon Hunter is C tier. I'm not the biggest Dragon Hunter fan. It feels like a core Guardian with almost no addition. And it's not really Guardian feeling, in my opinion. Sadly, also with Longbow, it was actually quite nice, but now every Guardian spec can use Longbow, so it's not that much of a difference anymore. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. Just my take. Then we have Firebrand. I think Firebrand is amazing. Firebrand is a really cool spec. It has with the tomes, it's really interesting. It feels really unique. It's a really cool spec. For me, Firebrand is S tier. I think it fits perfectly to Guardian with the tomes, and it has so much of a nice design that you have all the utility in your kit. It's extremely cool, and you feel like it's very skilled, and I don't know, I think it's a very good thing. I agree on Berserker, but sometimes the gameplay seems to revolve into use normal skill, use F skill. I mean, that's the rotation, yes. You use some weapon skills, use F skill, and then it's the rotation. And it feels like spamming, yeah, I get it. But I think it's fast-paced, and it feels like a Berserk. You know, it feels exactly like the name suggests you spam your buttons because you go berserk. You're in your berserk form and you spam it. It might not fit everyone, but I personally like a playstyle where you fit really those berserk playstyle. I think the concept makes a lot of sense. But I get why people would say it's not for me. I don't, like I said, this still is my subjective take on the matter. It's not, I can't say this is the one that you should take because sometimes you don't enjoy it that much. Sure, I get that. So like I said, Firebrand is really cool. I think it's a little bit power crept in some circumstances, especially in PvE. It can be a little bit slow with the Condi DPS and that kind of stuff if you don't know what you're doing, especially. But I think I'm just talking about how the design is, and I think it's a really good design. It's not a very good design when it comes to how to balance it, because it's either broken or it's completely useless. But when it comes to the design of the class, how it looks and how it fits Guardian, I think it's really good. Then we have Willbender. I think Willbender is really interesting, because Willbender feels like a blue thief. And that's actually not a joke or something in the community meme. I think it's completely fitting. Yeah. I think Willbender, in my opinion, is very fitting to Guardian still, but it loses the support element. So it feels like an assassin that uses a light assassin or something. And it's a new take on Guardian without altering too much. So I think it's also S tier for me. Yeah. Which is one of the rare EOD specs, I can spoiler you on this, that I put in S tier, because I think EOD specs are mostly not there. I think the best specs were in Heart of Thorns and some in POF, but in EOD, most specs are actually not S tier for me, because they are not that interesting. Just my take. I would really like to love Berserker, but a lot of encounters there are split phases or mechanics to deal, and that leads up to drop out of Berserker. Yeah, I think it has some issues when it comes to how do you play it. I think they designed it in a way nowadays that you have to completely stay in Berserk form all the time, which in the end leads to feeling really bad if you have to drop out because of split phases, because of just some random encounters and mechanics. So I think the design decision to not be always in Berserk mode would have been the better choice, to make it more attractive to play in phases and mechanics and stuff, because then it would be part of your rotation to not be in Berserk form. But now it's, if you drop out, you completely deal almost no damage anymore. So it feels a little bit bad in that situation. I totally agree. But I think just the general roleplay of the class and how it feels, how it just fits, is really good. So I would still leave it like that. But I would agree it could have been even better. Yeah, for sure. Okay, let's get to Revenant. So Revenant, we have Renegade. I'm not the biggest Renegade fan. I think the spirits and that kind of stuff is not that crazy good. I have to say, I think Renegade is the worst Revenant elite spec from the design perspective. I don't like the F skills too much, and I have to be honest, the spirits are not that crazy good either. The shortbow was cool, but nowadays, like I said, with the weapon proficiencies, weapons are used on every class, so it's not really interesting anymore. For me, it's a B tier. I'm not the biggest Renegade fan. I think it's too... It feels too similar like a core Revenant with some new buttons that not change too much. On the opposite, we have Herald. I think Herald is for me an S tier. Easy S tier. It is so nice with the change of the upkeeps and the glints and utility, and also the facet of nature. It's so cool. I think it's not too much of a difference, but it feels really nice. You have a buff thing. You can play really just selfish as well. I think it's a perfect spec in that sense. I think for me, definitely S tier as well. There are a lot of different things that I would say are fitting on Revenant in general, but I would say Herald is the best Revenant spec. Thanks, by the way. Thanks a lot for the Prime sub, Barons. Thanks a lot. Really appreciate it. Okay, so that's what I have to say about Herald. When it comes to Vindicator, the idea, the design of playing like a Dragoon is really cool. Just jump up high in the air and making some kind of dodge alteration. But how it in the end turns out, how you play it, like a DPS or a healer that just dodges all the time to deal damage or heal, feels like a little bit boring. Yeah. So in the end, the idea is really good, and I really like the class mechanic with the swapping your legends, so that you have, so to say, 3 legends if you use the alliance stance. Is really cool. I really like that. But in the end, I think the idea of the Vindicator is, with the dodge alteration after the nerfs to it, felt a little bit worse. So I'm not the biggest fan anymore. I would put it in high A tier because of that. Because of the dodge alteration that is not that impactful anymore. I think it was really cool if you had a class that had some really big impact skill, like boon extension on it, and it would be really nice to make it as a support like that. But just having a barrier heal on dodge feels like it's just boring. It's not really changing too much. It feels like you dodge and you heal because of that. Every Guardian can do that. I don't know. It's not too interesting for me. I'm more of a Herald fan from the design perspective. Okay. Then let's talk about the light armor classes next. So let's start with Mesmer. I like Mesmer. Yeah, so Mesmer is for me my favorite class probably. Just baseline because I like it. It's very unique. And one of the unique features of Mesmer is that it has a lot of instant casts. So that's why I would put Virtuoso, which doesn't have that anymore, in B tier. No, maybe A tier. A tier. Because I think it loses the instant cast, it loses the design perspective of, for me, the fun of this is to use it all the time, very fast if you have some in action. The shatters or the blade songs of Virtuoso are not that fast paced anymore, so they are a little bit slower. Yeah. So the class fantasy is a little bit lost there. I get it, it's fun to have the daggers don't have clones anymore. I think that makes sense. I get it, it is really cool. But just from a design perspective, especially when it comes to the traits, I think the traits are really boring. They could have made so much more interesting traits, but that's another topic. So I would put it in A tier because of that. Yeah, I think Mesmer is really cool. Just baseline because it's really unique. Not a lot of, I think almost no game actually has Mesmer as a class. And I think that's really cool that Guild Wars 2 has. Of course, Guild Wars 1 has, but other games don't. So, Chronomancer for me, S tier. Easy S tier. I think the idea of having a button that alters the complete gameplay of every single other button is immense. It's so cool to have a different class that is only getting one more button, but this changes how you play everything that you already selected is really cool. Of course, then you also have the Chrono Phantasma trait that I really like. I think this is a really cool trait because it helps a lot with just general interestingness of the class, and of course you have all the alacrity and quickness stuff. I think it's a really cool class. And I like the Well ideas because Wells deal stuff at the end, so you can go back and get value from them because of your continuous shift and they have a delay. It's really nice. I think it's perfect design. For me, easy S tier. And then we have Mirage. So Mirage is really hard. So if I would be a balancing team leader, Mirage to balance is really hard because dealing damage with your dodge is just altering your dodge is a really bad thing for balance. However, I really like Mirage. I think Mirage is a fun elite spec from the design. It's really fitting for Mesmer. It's so, yeah, evasive. I really like it. I think it's a really cool design. Is it as good as the classes in S tier? I would say no. For me, it's A tier, high A tier. But I would say definitely it's a cool class for sure. I really like it. I like the design. I love to play this fast-paced Mirage gameplay. It's really challenging and a high level to do so, but it's a really cool class. Maybe you could make an argument to put it in S tier. Maybe. Let's leave it at S for now because I'm just such a Mesmer simp. But you could also put it in A tier because it's not as good as Chronomancer, that much is for sure. Okay. And let's talk about Necromancer. Necromancer, Reaper, easy S tier. Reaper is such, I mean, it might be the best class ever designed from Guild Wars 2. I think it's so good. It is amazing when it comes to how perfect fit it is. It looks cool, the animations are crazy good, the playstyle is perfectly fitting. You're such a crazy good damage dealer that can deal condition damage or power damage. It's really fitting for either way, and I don't know. I think it's best class they ever did, I would say. Also, the Greatsword edition with it fits perfectly. The shouts are also amazing, not animation-wise only, because they are also really cool from what you can use. The chill is amazing. I think it's perfectly elite spec. It's really good, really well fitting. And it's way better than core Necromancer. It's just an upgrade. It looks way better. It just feels perfect in my opinion. Then we have Scourge. I think Scourge is really interesting as well. It has the ability to give you some barrier, and it uses sand shrouds and that kind of stuff, so I think it's okay. It feels a little bit less like a necromancer. It feels more like some kind of shaman or something, in my opinion. It's not like a typical necromancer anymore from the baseline skills that it gets. But for me, it's okay. I would say from a design perspective, I would put it in B tier, actually. I think it's not the craziest design perspective class. And the same actually has to be said about Harbinger. I think Harbinger is cool that you lose the death shroud and you get still access to it, but it doesn't provide you with a second life pool. I think this is a really cool design decision. And I like the fast-paced gameplay, but I think the utility skills are really boring. Yeah, I think the utility skills of Harbinger are just elixirs. You just throw them around and that's it. I think this really keeps it down for me. Otherwise, I think it's a really nice spec. It's really fast-paced, especially with swords and spear. It's really cool. I think for me, it's an A tier spec. Yeah, just from a design perspective. Yeah, I'm not talking about how the balance is here. I'm just talking about the design. Okay, let's talk now about Elementalist, and now we get to some really spicy takes. So for me, the first one, Weaver, is S tier. Weaver design is S tier because it's such a cool idea to having different elements woven in together and having new skills that are created out of this. I think this is amazing. I really like that. I think this is an amazing idea. Sadly, it doesn't work out in the balance right now, but that's another topic. I personally really enjoy it. I think I'm not a big fan when it comes to how they balance it, but I really like the idea of having multiple skills that are just interwoven with each other and work a lot together. I also like the stances. They are cool design. It's really cool. In general, Weaver, perfect Elementalist lead spec. I think the opposite is Catalyst. I'm not a big Catalyst fan. I think Catalyst is fun to play, yes, but I think Catalyst itself is actually not fun. What makes Catalyst fun is that it's currently really good. If Catalyst would be worse, just from the damage output and the sustain and stuff, it would not be fun anymore. So that's a clear decision to me that design is flawed. It's not a good design. So I would put it in C tier because I don't like playing an Elementalist and Co-Elementalist that gets another button. I think that doesn't influence it like the Chronomancer button. The Chronomancer button changes everything how you play Chronomancer. But Elementalist just plays like a Co-Elementalist, and every now and then you spam a new button. That's it. Not good. I don't like it. Then we have Tempest. I think Tempest is a really good elite spec. I think it's not as complicated as Weaver, but it still fits very well to Elementalist. You have the ability to overload your skills. It's really cool. That you can decide, okay, I need more healing. I go and overload my water attunement. I think this is really cool. Also, the shouts are really nice. I think this is a really good elite spec. I think for me also S tier. I think I really like Tempest. As a healer, particularly, but also if you really want to go for DPS, I think this is also a good option with the Overload Air. I think it fits really well as well. Okay, and now let's go to the medium armor classes. So, medium armor classes, let's start with Thief. So Chronomancer is decently playable without Soto and Chantier Wilds. But Chronomancer in PvE, I would say every Mesmer spec uses Spear. So if you don't have Chantier Wilds, typically Mesmer is hit quite hard because it's actually a really good weapon. So I would always go with Chantier Wilds on that. Chronomancer in particular, you can also play with Greatsword. So it doesn't need actually to go with Soto. But I would say you lose quite a lot. Typically, a lot of Mesmer builds use all the expansions, sadly. Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about Thief. So Thief, in my opinion, is the only elite spec or only class that has a little bit of a problem with the elite specs, how they are designed, because they are really close to the core Thief and just give it a little bit more of a new playstyle, but it doesn't change the core idea of being an assassin. Yeah, so it's still feeling like the same thing, which is not a bad thing, but it limits it in how you play it. So that's why I would put Daredevil for me is not really interesting. I would put Daredevil for me in C tier as well. Yes, you get one more dodge and it fits the name, but it's not like it's so much different from a core thief. Yeah. In my opinion. It's like you play a core thief which is stronger. So in my opinion, it's not like a really crazy good design. It's not changing the class too much. And the same sadly goes for Deadeye. I think Deadeye is the same. For me, Deadeye feels like it's a core thief that gets power crept. Yeah. If you would rate rival Deadeye only, then I would put it higher. Yeah. But for me, I would put it here because nowadays everyone can use rival on thief. So that's only C tier for me. It's not the role play. I get it fits, yeah, of those two. But for me, they don't change too much. The gameplay is almost the same as a core thief would use, just a little bit better. And the opposite is true for Spectre. I'm a big Spectre simp. I think Spectre is really cool. It changes thief in a way I would never have imagined to work, because it makes thief as a support viable, and it fits the class. It's not like it's completely random. I think it's really well made. The shroud is amazing, and it just fits the class. So for me, Spectre is an S tier. I think Spectre is perfect for thief spec as a support. I really like it. I really like it. It's really good. But of course, again, this is subjective. It can be completely swapped, this tier list, for everyone that wants to make their own. Be sure to use the link that I will put in the video here. But it's really important. Yeah, this is my tier list, my opinion on how fun and how good the design is, in my opinion. Okay, let's talk about Engineer next. So Engineer is easy for me. Engineer, Holosmith is an S tier. Holosmith S tier just because I think it fits Engineer perfectly well. It is perfectly as an Engineer spec, as it adds some nice flashy animations and some nice utility skills as well, without changing it too much to make it completely different from Engineer, but in a way unique that you say, okay, I want to play Holosmith and not core Engineer. I think that makes a lot of sense. So for me, Holosmith is a perfect example how you can make something new with one button in that sense, that you add the Holoforge that gives you a new transform, and that alters your gameplay so much that it's completely unique. I really like that. It's perfect done, especially with the overheat mechanic. I really like that as well. That's really cool. Then we have Mechanist. I think Mechanist for me is a really cool design from the traits. I don't really like to have an NAI running around with me, so I'm personally not a big Mechanist fan, but I see the design and why it's actually cool and why it's fun potentially. So that's why I put it in A tier, because I think it's a fun design to alter your mech, and I think it's really nice. I'm talking here about every single game mode, because for me fun and design is not limited by a specific game mode. Yeah. So if I enjoy Viva, I typically enjoy Viva in every single game mode. And I think Heavenfire might have a correct point here, that the mech is not that customizable. Yes, it's true, but you can actually customize it quite a bit. Every single trait in the trait line changes the attacks of your mech. So I think this customizes actually quite well. Yeah. And I personally am not a big mech fan. I would say, yes, I would agree. If you are a core engineer fan, I would put mech lower. Maybe I will leave it at B because of that, because you lose so much identity of the core engineer with the tool belt skills and stuff. And Mechanist itself is just like you get a pet and you lose every identity that you had before. It's just the mech now. So it's really far away from core engineer in that sense. Yes, I would agree with that statement. Scrapper is the middle ground here, I would say. It loses a little bit, but you get the function gyro, you get the gyros. I think it's a really cool design. It's not like, it's completely like Holosmith, where I would say it's perfectly fun just from baseline kit, but it's really nice with the super speed access and just the utility. I like Scrap. I'm personally a Scrapper fan, but I would say it's not my favorite engineer spec, from the design perspective. Yeah. And then we have Ranger lastly left. I think Ranger is interesting. Yeah, I would put actually so we have question from YouTube. Mirage in S tier from a design perspective is really my personal take. I could put it in A tier. I would put it in low S tier or higher A tier, because I personally think Mirage is really cool. The idea to have your clones dodge when you dodge, I think this is really cool. To have attacks that you get when you use aggressively, I think it's really nice. Yeah. Personally, I think it's a really cool idea. But I think the design of it, if you work adjust it in terms of balance, yeah, if you say you need to balance it and make it fair, then it's actually really horrible, because dodge alter racing specs are horrible to balance. So I would say if you have it, look at it, this thing, then typically A tier is actually the highest it can go. But I personally really enjoy the idea of having a Mirage, because it's really fitting to an Mesmer, yeah. So the idea that you have to concentrate on your clones as well to make them dodge at the correct time, so that they survive an attack, feels like to me as an amazing addition to Mesmer, yeah. So just this idea is amazing. But I get your point why you would put it lower, yeah, for sure. And I also get your point here, Heavenfire, that you want to put gyros or Scrapper a little bit lower because of the gyros, because the gyros are not that exciting. I get it, but I think it's a fitting addition to an engineer, yeah, engineer that has some kind of technical advancement, progression, and uses some kind of bots to help him. I think that makes sense. It fits very well to an engineer, in my opinion. And I think I would put it in A tier. I think it's very good, in my opinion. Okay, so I was talking about Ranger. I think Ranger is hard to rate in that sense, because if you're a Ranger fan, you typically like the pet. And then the Soul Beast might be lower because you will kill your pet with the Soul Beast. However, I personally would say Soul Beast is one of the best Ranger specs, because it's really, really cool how you can play with the pet, get your utilities off the pet, and then you can swap out again. And I think it's really cool. I really like the idea that you use the soul of your pet to merge into Soul Beast form, so to say. It's really cool. I really like that. I get if you're a pet enjoyer, you might not like it as much, but I personally really like it. And on the other hand, we have Druid. I think Druid adds not that much to Ranger. Yeah, the glyphs are cool. I like the dualism of having two forms of glyphs, depending if you're in Celestial Avatar form or not. But I personally don't really like the Celestial Avatar form. It fits Druid, or it fits some kind of healer, but I think it's not too exciting. The skills are not too crazy. They are power grab, they are really crazy good, but I think it's not good enough to make it really insane design tier for me. That is my personal taste. I know a lot of people like it, but I put it in A tier. I think I like the perspective of having a Ranger that comes close to nature as a healer. I think that makes a lot of sense. But when it comes to the design of the class, skills and stuff, I think there is improvement, room for improvement for sure. Yeah. That's just my take. And then we have Untamed. I personally think Untamed is really interesting with the ambush mechanics. I personally don't like how the pet and stuff, the utility skills is implemented. I'm not a big fan of it. But I think the idea of having special ambush skills like Mirage does for swapping your stances is really cool. It fits Ranger to some extent. I'm not completely sure about just the general direction. I think it feels really close to Core Ranger, just a power grab Core Ranger. So I would say it's for me B tier, because it doesn't feel too much different as a Core Ranger in a way that I would say it's good enough. So that's just my take. And I think that's what I would say is my tier list. Let me know if you have any comments on that. But I think that's my fun and design tier list, yeah. There are some adjustments that you could make. I did not put anything in D tier because I think every single elite spec is actually really, really nicely done. It's not like it's completely garbage or something. And they are all fitting to their core classes. But some are better than others, in my opinion. How they are fitting, how fun they are from a design perspective. So that's just my take. And I think that makes a lot of sense, for me at least. Yeah, I don't know. So, do you have any comments on that, or do you think that's reasonable, my tier list here? Thanks for the follow, Top Thing. Really appreciate it. Tempest and Firebrand are the two elite specs that kept me playing the game after all these years. Yeah, I think those two are really nice. I think they are really fun to play, have a lot of... The identity is good and they have a lot of utility. You can play them all the time in every game mode because they are so versatile. I really like it as well. I mean, Soul Beast in S tier is arguable to put it lower. It's like Mirage. I think Mirage and Soul Beast both could be A tier. I personally think I like the idea of having lost my pet. I'm not a big AI fan. I think that was clear after my mech stuff, and the same goes for Ranger. And if I want to play Ranger, I want to lose my pet. So that's why I put it that high. Because I am really happy that I can just merge with my pet and completely deny the stupid AI to run around. So that's why I put it in S tier. Because I think the idea of getting rid of a boring mechanic or stupid mechanic of your pet is good. But I can see why you would say the rotation and the stuff is really boring. You don't get too much offered from Soul Beast itself. I think the stances have a lot of potential though. So if you could play like a support Soul Beast where you can give your allies stability, you give your allies Condi cleanses and that kind of stuff, I think that would be really cool. I think they are not there yet, but if they balance it better, it would be amazing. So that's my take. I guess, yeah, I can totally see why you would put it lower because it's a boring spec to play from the rotation. Yeah, I get it. But in my Ranger mindset, I think it's the best Ranger spec when it comes to how much impact I have on my gameplay and how fun I think Ranger could be if I have this spec equipped. That's just my take. Thanks for the follow, by the way, yours. Yeah, so that's just my take, yeah, again. Yeah, and I think with that, I think I will finish the stream for today as well. So thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. And be sure to check out my YouTube channel if you hadn't already. And yeah, I would agree with Reaper is also in the same boat. Yeah, sure, definitely. But I personally would say Reaper is just from my personal taste is perfectly fitting. Yeah. Yeah, have a nice day. See you all. Thanks a lot for watching. And have a nice rest of the weekend. Thanks a lot. And have fun. Yeah. See you.